The pirate 4 emperors went to the second one. Now there are only 2 pirates who are eligible to be called emperors. One is Kaido, the other is the red-haired Shanks. These 2 have been from the era of the 4 emperors. Extending to the present pirate emperor, the other 2, Whitebeard and Big Mom, have been destroyed by Marine. The 2 pirate emperors were both killed by Marine, and both died in the hands of Marine Marshal Akainu. This made many pirates in New World feel uneasy and could feel the malice from naval headquarters, even if the Whitebeard pirate group attacked naval headquarters in Wan, but it was only a sneak attack after all. Compared with the destruction of the Big Mom pirate group, the fruits of the battle were far worse. Therefore, the pattern of New World has become very strange now, and the various pirates seem to have reached a tacit understanding. Except for those with deep hatred, the other pirate forces basically no longer conquer everywhere. The invisible pressure of naval headquarters forced New World to become exceptionally quiet during this time, but Akainu knew that this was just the calm before the storm, and he destroyed the Big Mom pirate group, which did not really scare all the pirates. And fear, once let them seize the opportunity, they will never be polite, they will only be more crazy than before. The pirates are waiting, and Akainu is also waiting. Now there is only less than a month left until the World Summit is held. The reason why he chose to fight the Big Mom pirates before was because he really wanted to drop the Big Mom pirate group to stabilize and strengthen your power and give yourself a greater say in the World Summit. On the other hand, I also want to completely muddy the muddy waters of New World. Don't look at the chaos before New World, but in fact only a small part of the chaos is, and more places are controlled by the 3 emperors of the pirates. Limited. But now he has destroyed the Big Mom pirate group, which has changed the layout of New World. Except for the land around Cake Island he occupied, more land has become a land of no owner. The forces, including the world government, and many powerful nations, are targeting those borderless lands and have already begun to fight for it. And as soon as this situation of looting the territory appeared, New World immediately burst, and the pirates calmed down temporarily, but those big countries and other dark forces were not afraid of Marine. They ignored Marine's deterrence and desperately wanted to split a cup of pie. This also caused New World to become more chaotic after a period of time. Before the New World 4 emperors ruled, New World is fairly stable, but the pirates are pirates after all, and the chaos they can cause is only temporary. But the major countries, as well as the forces in the major dark places, have a much greater impact than the pirates. World Summit is imminent. Even if it is a member of the world government, they all want to take a bite of fat in silence. As long as they can swallow this piece of fat and keep it at World Summit, then the huge territory will belong to them. In this case, how could they not be crazy? According to the situation in the past few hundred years, the more World Summit is around the corner, the calmer the world will be. The heads of kings of major countries are preparing to fight for rights and interests at the World Summit, but all this is disrupted by Akainu's actions. There is one person. Other people can't help it if they move, and with the help of the fire, more and more people are acting, and the scope is getting bigger and bigger. At the beginning, it was limited to the territory of the Big Mom pirate group, but as the fire rose, a larger area was affected, and even the turf of the other 2 pirate emperors was in turmoil. Down, even the red-haired Shanks and Kaido, who are as strong as the pirate emperor, cannot be suppressed. The flames of war instantly invaded the entire New World. This violent storm really shocked the world. Even the world government 5 elders and others were stunned. In their eyes, this was a huge victory, but it followed. It turned out to be New World disrupted, which left them at a loss. But they soon discovered the reason. Someone was secretly contributing to the flames, and they immediately determined that it was the Revolutionary Army. They were right. It was indeed the Revolutionary Army in action. Long made perfect use of this situation to muddy the waters of the entire New World. In fact, at the beginning, he had no intention of this. He just wanted to carry out an uprising in a few countries, but he did not expect that the flames of war spread wildly, leading to the whole New World was in chaos, and all this was beyond his control. Let alone the dragon, even Akainu himself was shocked. He was only targeting the pirates before, but he did not expect that the destruction of a Big Mom pirate group would cause such serious consequences. You must know that they were destroyed in the first place. The Whitebeard pirate group did not cause such serious consequences. But he quickly realized that the Whitebeard pirate group was not destroyed at first, but Whitebeard died, and the remnants of the Whitebeard pirate group led by Marco. Even though the Whitebeard pirate group lost most of its territory, Marco the others still guarded a lot of places, and were later swallowed by the beasts Kaido and Big Mom, so there was no confusion at the time. But this time is different. The area occupied by Akainu is only a very small part, and the incident happened suddenly and there was no reaction time at all. There was also a revolutionary army from it. But no one can force the raging waves, and that's why it led to the outbreak of chaos. The world government wanted to take action, but this time it was different. World Summit is about to come. Most of their forces are concentrated around the Holy Land. Marine is also unable to send troops on a large scale again because of the attack on its headquarters. Other troops are not enough to suppress each Fang forces, so they can only watch the chaos happen. However, this is not the most explosive. As the chaos of New World began, it didn't take long for even more amazing things to happen. After the remnants of the Big Mom pirates were broken up by Marine, they slowly gathered under the leadership of Katakuri, but their strength was not a single one. In the end, in order to get revenge, they did not know what they did. Kaido reached a consensus and became the Alliance pirate group of Beast's pirates. For a while, Beast's pirates' strength increased greatly. But the more powerful ones are still to come. The Great Pirates Alliance led by the Straw Hat Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates actually challenged the Beast Kaido. The pirate group and other pirate alliances came to an end. It is said that both the Straw Hat Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates were disbanded. The Axis characters from all sides, the Straw Hat Boy, challenged the defeat of the Beast Kaido. He did not know his life or death. Although Beast's pirates won in the end, they also suffered heavy losses. After all, this time against their pirate alliance, the combined strength is not weaker than the previous 4 Emperors pirate group. This is not the first time that Kaido has been challenged. Just before, Kaido was challenged by the Supernova Alliance once, but that time the Supernova Alliance was crushed by crushing. But this time is different. This time the Straw Hats see the League of Thieves is extremely powerful. There are not only a new generation of super pirates such as Straw Hat Boys, but also the Whitebeard Pirates. In this case, even Kaido, one of the 2 remaining pirate emperors, was extremely difficult to deal with. Although the Straw Hat Pirates Alliance was finally defeated, he himself suffered serious losses. Even if it weren't for the war at their base camp, Wano Kuni, they might be even worse. The Straw Hat guys actually challenged Kaido? When Akainu learned of the news, he was also very surprised. Now New World is in chaos. He didn't expect that the pirates would also riot, and what surprised him was that the Whitebeard Pirates also joined the Straw Hat Pirates, achieved an alliance and challenged Kaido together. The Ghost Spider nodded solemnly and said, "Yes, it is said that this battle was fought in darkness. Although Kaido defeated the Straw Hat Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates, it was also a terrible victory. If it weren't for Wano Kuni and Katakuri waiting for someone to assist, it is very likely that you will be pulled off the horse." Akainu said, "I didn't expect that Marco would actually be in an alliance with the Straw Hat Boy, and he also launched an offensive against Kaido. What are they thinking about, this time to shoot?" Not long ago, the Whitebeard Pirates just attacked their naval headquarters. Although the naval headquarters suffered heavy losses, the Whitebeard Pirates were also absolutely uncomfortable. In this situation, they still attacked the Beast's pirates. It's amazing. Ghost Spider said. This time there was an unprecedented chaos on the pirates' side. The heroes competed. Perhaps it was because Marco and others knew that they could not restore the glory of the former Whitebeard Pirates alone, so they thought about going with the Straw Hat Kid. The united action against Kaido is both for proof and revenge. Akainu frowned and said, "This is not a good phenomenon." The Ghost Spider asked in surprise, "Isn't it a good phenomenon? The pirates are in civil strife and consume each other. Isn't this good news for us? Why is it not a good phenomenon?" Akainu said, "The survival of the fittest. It seems that the pirates are constantly consuming, but the number of pirates will not decrease. On the contrary, after many battles, the rest are elites. Didn't you find these seas? The thief forces have gradually begun to form alliances, from the small forces in the past to become stronger and stronger, just like the era of the big pirates 20 years ago." Ghost Spider asked, "Are you worried that the pirate 4 emperors will stand side by side again? But the current situation is different from the past. With our strength, we won't give them such a chance now." Akainu said solemnly, "I'm afraid it will be more troublesome. That Straw Hat Boy is a trouble. To be honest, even he has to sigh. Luffy really deserves to be a person with the protagonist aura, always get help when in despair, rebirth from despair, and can make great progress every time." The Ghost Spider said, "That kid is indeed a trouble. He deserves to be the grandson of Garp Vice Admiral, the son of the dragon. Potential and luck coexist. Now even the Whitebeard Pirates have joined his camp. If now he is united with his father, Dragon, then it's even more difficult." Akainu said, "The dragon is not something we should consider. There will be a world summit in a few days. 5 elders has given me an order to let me go to Marie Joy's. Because there have been too many major events in the past 4 years, as Marine's current Marshal Akainu, this time must be participating in the World Summit, and several major events are led by him, and Marine has achieved victory. Let him also have a high right to speak in the influence of the world government." The Ghost Spider asked, "Now that the new world is chaotic like this World Summit will probably be very troublesome." Akainu sneered, "No matter how troublesome it is, it has nothing to do with us. We just need to do our own thing." He knows that there will be many changes in the World Summit this time. As the Marine Marshal, he will also strengthen Marine's power this time and stand in the Holy Land Marie Joyce. Not only him, 5 elders also asked Marine and Admiral to go to Marie Joyce, but he refused. He left Kizaru and Green Bull to sit in naval headquarters. After all, the new world is unstable, and there was Whitebeard Sea before. The thieves came to attack desperately. Who knows if someone will attack again while World Summit, so they have to guard against it. Because of Marine's strength, the security protection of the World Summit this time was handed over to Marine. It was deployed by the commander-in-chief of the entire army and assisted by Akainu. Therefore, at this moment, the Holy Land Marie Joyce has tens of thousands of troops gathered, which can be said to be secret. It is not airtight, and even the heads of countries and big figures who come to participate in the World Summit must go through a rigorous search. Akainu brought his own people into Marie Joyce, because this time he was attending the meeting as Marshal Marine, so naturally there would be no unsightly people to provoke him. Marshal Sakazuki, you are here too. As soon as Akainu arrived at Marie Joyce, she met acquaintances, Princess Otahime of the Fishmen Island and her daughter Princess Shirahoshi. Akainu frowned when she saw Princess Otahime carrying Princess Shirahoshi, and asked, "Why did you bring your daughter?" Princess Otahime smiled and said, "I took her out to sea and see. She was trapped in the bottom of the sea a few years ago. This is the first time she has come out." Akainu's eyes flashed. He saw that Princess Otahime did not tell the truth. He knew exactly what Princess Shirahoshi was. Princess Otahime brought her here at this time, and he definitely wanted to talk to World Government 5 elders. I sneered in my heart. As expected, they are from the non-my race, and their hearts must be different. These people have been saying that they are on his side, but at a critical moment, these people are simply unreliable. In the eyes of the Murlocs, it is obvious that they are cooperating with the world government. Far more cost-effective than working with him, Marine Marshal. Then you have to be careful, this is Marie Joyce. He knows very well that the Princess Shirahoshi in the anime also arrived at Marie Joyce, but was spotted by celestial dragons. Although he doesn't know what the final result will be, it must not be any better. Thank you for your reminder, Marshal Sakazuki, we will be careful, Princess Otahime replied. Looking at the hopeful expression of Princess Otahime, Akainu was disdainful. Although this woman is kind, she is still too naive. Do you really think that world government is a charity hall? Akainu really disdains the self-righteous thoughts of the Fishmen Island and Princess Otahime. What the senior officials of the world government are thinking, now he can fully understand that, in the eyes of them, except for them, other people are not important, even marine marshals like Akainu, even they can change as they want, let alone the existence of inhumans such as the Murlocs. In the eyes of those high-level people in the world government, except for their small group of people, everyone else is a tool. In order to consolidate their tools for ruling the world, you, a Murloc in their eyes, are just a slave class, and you also want to sit in. Isn't it funny to eat at a round table? In the eyes of those people, there has never been so-called racial equality. They can even elevate their race to the supremacy, completely forgetting that they are just ordinary human races, and even the human race of an ancestor is not in the eyes. Not to mention those Murlocs, giants and other races. The innocence of the Murlocs, Akainu can only sneer. Fortunately, he has never really regarded the Murlocs as his own. Otherwise they would definitely make the possibility of stabs in the back. There are still 2 days before the official start of World Summit. In these 2 days, Akainu mainly patrols Mariajoy's defenses. Actually, this does not require him, the Marine Marshal, to act in person, but in order to learn more about Mariajoy's situation, he decided to personally. Only by patrolling again, knowing the enemy and confidant, can you survive 100 battles. Even Marie Joyce dared to break in so unscrupulously. You are really brave enough, Monkey D. Dragon. At night, Akainu sat in her room and suddenly said something quietly. It's Sakazuki, you have become stronger after not seeing you for so long. Long emerged from the darkness. He was dressed in a green kabuto hat and suit, covering himself up and sturdy. It looked no different from a few years ago, but even so, Akainu still couldn't feel that this man really had it. How strong. In fact, the dragon is more shocked, and he knows Akainu better, but every time he meets Akainu, he will be shocked, because Akainu's strength will increase a lot every time. This time he sees Akainu again, and he even has some lingering fears, especially Akainu watching closely. When he was holding him, it made him have an urge to turn around and flee immediately. Akainu didn't move, but looked at the dragon lightly, and asked, the World Summit is coming soon. Are you sneaking into Marie Joyce at this time? Aren't you afraid of exposure? The dragon's courage is indeed great. This is Marie Joyce, the holy land of the world government. It is definitely the most closely guarded place in the world. As the world government's #1 enemy, sneak in at this time. If it is discovered, there will be absolutely no life. Long He smiled and said, I have been dealing with them for so many years, but I still have a little bit of it. Would you still betray me? This is strange. You and I are enemies. Even if I expose you, I can't be regarded as a betrayal, and if I catch you, it will be a great achievement. Akainu's eyes flickered, and he would do it anytime. Look like. Long didn't panic at all, and continued, if I'm caught, who else will help you hold their gazes? Sakazuki, you and I are all sensible people. There are some things that don't need to be said so thoroughly, right? Akainu shook his head and said, it's better to be more thorough. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the dragon, but it quickly covered it, and said solemnly, Sakazuki, you and I have known each other for so many years. I still know you better. I know what you are thinking about. To bring them down, now is the time for us to cooperate. Akainu snorted, it looks like you have guessed something. Speak it out and listen. Long Dao. Since you asked me to say it, then I will say it. If you say something wrong, you have to correct it in time. In the past 2 years, you have made various changes to Marine. Others can't see anything, but how can you hide it from me? Now Marine has been mastered by you for more than half, but your orders to 5 elders and others are slanderous. Yang violated, based on their thoughts, how could they be indifferent? So if you don't show loyalty in time, you won't be able to do the position of Marshal Marine for long. Akainu nodded in agreement. Of course he knew that 5 elders had been jealous of him for a long time, and the reason why he had not publicly reprimanded him was because of his prestige. Most of the Marine executives were his people. It's because he didn't do anything detrimental to the world government, but his master's power is too heavy, but he is not as easy to control as Sengoku, and loyal to the world government, so it is strange that 5 elders is not afraid. Long continued. But you know all of this very well, but you haven't made any changes. From the outside, this is also in line with your personality, but I know that you were actually not loyal to those people at all. You are always looking for an opportunity to turn you over, so your purpose is the same as mine. There is a word called sympathy and sympathy. It is precisely because they have the same idea and purpose that the dragon can guess what he thinks in his heart. If he changes to another person, he will definitely not have this kind of rebellious conjecture. He didn't refute, because it was not necessary, let alone whether the dragon would leak out. Even if he leaked out, who would believe it? Even if 5 elders and others were jealous of him, who would they believe more about his words and those of the dragon? No need to think about it at all. So, what is your purpose for coming to me today? Cooperate. Long Shen said, since we all have the same purpose, then we can cooperate. Akainu asked, how to cooperate and talk about it. The power of the Revolutionary Army is definitely not small, and it can even be said that it is not worse than Marine, but this power only obeys the orders of the dragon, so Akainu has never moved his mind, and the dragon is not easier to deal with than those of the world government. Definitely a cunning person. Long Dao. Of course it is to jointly overthrow them. Ha ha. Akainu smiled disdainfully and said, say something practical. He is really a joke. If the world government is so easy to be overthrown, it would have been overthrown 100 times with the behavior of the celestial dragons. You think that in the past 800 years, there has been no such thing as a revolutionary army. The presence. But what happened? The world government still stands in Marie Joy's, and those forces have been wiped out. Therefore, if you want to overthrow the world government, you must not take action without absolute certainty. Long knew that Akainu would not agree to him so easily, so he continued. We want to rescue our companion Bartholomew Kuma. I hope you can help us. Akainu chuckled and said, it turned out to be asking me to come, but I can't help you with this matter. Now that guy is taken away by celestial dragons, even I can't save him, so you don't have to waste it with me. Time is up. No need to shirk, Sakazuki, I know your abilities. I am not afraid of the power of the world government. I just don't want to make too much noise or suffer too much loss. That's why I came to you. You will definitely be able to help. That will really disappoint you. As far as I know, Bartholomew Kuma is now being held by celestial dragons and is a slave of celestial dragons. My relationship with celestial dragons is not very good. They won't sell my face. He had conflicts with celestial dragons at Marie Joy's. Even though he has become Marine Marshal, the celestial dragons still don't have a good impression of him, and he doesn't want to deal with celestial dragons. Those people are more difficult to deal with than 5 elders. Long said, I don't need you to help me save people. I only need to know the current situation of the bear, and you can tell me his information. Hearing this, Akainu understood the meaning of the dragon. After all, this is Marie Joy's, the holy land of the world government. It is not easy for a dragon to take people into it. However, it is extremely dangerous to find information in Marie Joy's. Big, so he came to find himself. Akainu pondered for a moment. He was thinking about gains and losses. Just as Long said, he has a heart of disobedience to the world government, so naturally he will not give up, but the relationship between the dragon and him is not much better. Why should he help the dragon? After thinking for a while, Akainu nodded and said, "Okay, I can help you, and even try to help you hold other people, but whether you can rescue them in the end depends on your own ability." "No problem." Seeing that Akainu finally agreed to help, Long was also relieved. With Akainu's internal response, he was at least much more relaxed, and he was not worried that Akainu would betray him. When dealing with the world government, it cannot be said to be Ishin, but at least it is not an enemy, so it is impossible for Akainu to do things that are harmful to others. Long as a bystander can see that the world government does not trust Akainu, and how could Akainu fail to see that his current status have reached the limit, and there is no possibility of climbing, so he does not need to please anymore anyone. This is also the reason why he dared to have a hard conversation with 5 elders before. Because of the chaotic situation in New World, several New World government representatives have not arrived at Marie Joy's, so the World Summit has not yet started, and there are still 2 days before the meeting. After agreeing to help, Akainu would naturally not be unbelievable. He sent someone to investigate the whereabouts of Bartholomew Kuma, and finally learned that the bear was indeed a slave by celestial dragons, and then he told the dragon the news. He is very much looking forward to the dragon's desire to save people in the Holy Land Marie Joy's. The world government's background is too deep, even he doesn't know how powerful they are behind them, so this time he will use the strength of the revolutionary army to test it out. Good. However, for the next 2 days, Long did not do anything, until the World Summit officially began. The World Summit held every 4 years is definitely a big event that the whole world is paying attention to, because every meeting held may change the pattern of the world. Especially for the countries and big people participating in the meeting, World Summit is a confrontation. At the same time, huge contradictions may erupt. Akainu represents naval headquarters and is naturally eligible to participate in the conference. However, the world government is a mediator. So even if Akainu participated in the conference, he did not speak during the process. As a neutral party, naval headquarters is very powerful. Which side you prefer? This is a scene that no one wants to see, and it is also not allowed by 5 elders. The World Summit sounds like a very high standard, but only those who have actually participated know that this conference is actually very complicated and chaotic. There are big people and heads of state from all over the world. These people quarrel and are no better than ordinary people at the bottom. So the conference center will always burst out with huge roars and arguments. Because the world is divided into several parts, the meetings are not everyone gathered together, but separate, such as the 4 Seas and the Grand Line, which belong to different meetings. Those people from the 4 Seas meet alone, and the forces on the Grand Line side it is one side. Under normal circumstances, there will be no intersection. Akainu waited and watched the whole process, but found a lot of problems. This is an interest conference. The world government acts as a mediator. If someone has a conflict, the people of the world government will try their best to mediate to ensure that there will be no huge changes, and war. Of course, this is definitely the most complicated meeting in the past 2 decades, because there have been too many major events in the past 4 years, and the whole world is a little better. But Grand Line, especially New World, is completely messed up. The most chaotic in the 4 Seas is North Blue, and it has something to do with Akainu, because the culprit leading the chaos of North Blue is the former North Blue King's family, Germa 66. Since defeating the Big Mom pirate group, with the support of Akainu, Germa 66 has greatly increased in strength and quickly started a war in North Blue. It has captured several small countries and re-established the Germa Kingdom. Now North Blue's world government participating countries are all anxious and ask the world government for help. Perhaps it is the Akainu warship on the list. Vinsmoke Judge is very overbearing. Even in the face of the siege of several North Blue countries, he is not afraid of it. Mariajoy was unable to fight, so he just cursed and cursed. Things in North Blue have been troubled for a day without any results. The main reason is that the people of the world government put their main energy on the big people and countries of the Grand Line. North Blue is just a small place, and the Grand Line is the most important thing. Among them, the countries that occupy a lot of territory in New World are the most violent. Because of the defeat of the Pirate 4 Emperor's Big Mom, a large area of territory has been left. These big countries have annexed a lot, and naturally they also broke out in the process. There are many conflicts, wars have broken out between many countries, and some have even fought to the death. This kind of conflict is naturally not so easy to resolve, so this World Summit does not have a few days, and it is estimated that it will not be over. I suggest that the position of 7 warlords of the sea be banned. Since Shichibukai was founded, too many vicious incidents have occurred. The practice of using pirates to deter pirates is obviously wrong, so 7 warlords of the sea should be banned. At the meeting on the 2nd day of the World Summit, Marine Admiral Fujitora, one of Naval Headquarters representatives, smiled and suddenly made this suggestion. All the representatives from all over the world changed their faces and involuntarily looked at 5 who hosted the meeting. Elders. 5 elders did not participate in the World Summit on the first day, so basically nothing was negotiated on the first day of the meeting. At the beginning of today's meeting, 5 elders appeared as the power in the world government. What 5 elders didn't expect was that Fujitora would actually say the abolition of 7 warlords of the sea on such an important occasion. Everyone knew that the establishment of 7 warlords of the sea was led by them. Fujitora is now asking Shichibukai to be abolished. Hit them in the face. The representatives who participated in the World Summit became silent at this moment, and most of them looked at 5 elders and Fujitora with a smile, and even Akainu, who had been silent, was paid attention to as Marine Admiral and Fujitora. What he said was not only on his own behalf. 5 elders looked very ugly, and glanced at Akainu angrily, but Akainu was unmoved. He had expected this scene a long time ago. He brought Fujitora for this moment. Fujitora did not disappoint him, still made this decision. Although there are many problems with the existence of 7 warlords of the sea, their existence also curbs the development of the 4 emperors of the New World pirates. The battle on the top can defeat the Whitebeard pirates, and there are 7 warlords of the sea. Credit. When these words are said, there are more embarrassing people. What are you kidding about? What is the situation of the battle on the top? Most people in the audience understand what role Shichibukai played. Okay, maybe it works, but it's not what 5 elders said. Fujitora is an upright person. He continued, the existence of Shichibukai is more of harm. Alabasta, Dressrosa, they are all victims. Besides them, there are more people who have been persecuted by Shichibukai. Their existence it does more harm than good. Now the 4 emperors, the New World pirate, has been devastated and does not need Shichibukai's role at all, so banning Shichibukai is the best choice. I agree with Mr. Yishao's words. The existence of Shichibukai does more harm than good and should be banned. Just after Fujitora finished speaking, one person responded. Everyone looked at the King Liku of Dressrosa, who was deeply persecuted by Shichibukai and almost lost his country. That's why he stood firmly on Fujitora's side. Even if it is evil, 5 elders is not afraid. Is there anything worse than the previous experience? I agree too. Alabasta's king and Princess Vivi followed closely. In addition to them, after the various representatives present looked at each other for a few moments, there were also some people who agreed, and the number of them was quite large. The reason why these people agreed was entirely from their own standpoint. Although they have not received Shichibukai's persecution now, who knows what will happen in the future. Alabasta and Dressrosa are their lessons, so in order to prevent any accidents, it is better to ban Shichibukai directly. The faces of 5 elders became even more ugly. They had no idea that such a situation would happen. So many people agreed to abolish Shichibukai. Even if they felt tremendous pressure at this moment. Originally, World Summit was meant to demonstrate the skills and capabilities of the world government and to counterbalance the major countries and forces in the world, but Wanwan did not expect that at this moment, 5 elders, as the representative of the world government, would actually fall into this embarrassing situation. Looking at this posture, if you don't make a clear answer, I'm afraid Fujitora and others will not take it. 5 elders are flickering with cold eyes and are very dissatisfied with Admiral Fujitora. Although Fujitora may not be directed at them, it does push them into this embarrassing situation. The bald 5 elders suddenly turned his head and asked the silent Akainu, Sakazuki, as Marines Marshal, you have the most say in this matter. In your opinion, the existence of 7 warlords of the sea shouldn't exist. It's banned. In an instant, all the eyes of the audience gathered on Akainu. As 5 elders said, Akainu is definitely one of the people with the most say in the audience, and in today's world, Akainu is definitely not ignored by everyone. Big shot. The New World pirate 4 emperors, 2 of them died in the hands of Akainu, and 1 person killed the 2 pirates 4 emperors. This is only Akainu can do it, especially after Akainu ascended the throne. The world's sea the thieves have been hit, and the kings and representatives of these countries present have received a lot of benefits directly or indirectly. Many people also became nervous. For example, Fujitora and others. Everyone knows that Akainu was promoted by 5 elders. According to normal circumstances, Akainu must be on the side of 5 elders in the world government. Reason. Under everyone's gaze, Akainu slowly sat up straight, and his eyes became sharp. Although he did not release his aura, the invisible majesty still made many people more nervous. Instead of looking at other people, Akainu stared at 5 elders and slowly said, 5 elders, my opinion is that the existence of 7 warlords of the sea does more harm than good and should be banned. As soon as this was said, the entire conference room was silent. Everyone looked at Akainu in surprise. No one thought that Akainu would give such an answer. Even Fujitora smiled. He thought Akainu would refute it. After all, his relationship with Akainu is not good. 5 elders also looked ugly for a moment. If Fujitora was questioning, Akainu is now hitting everyone in the face. As their most important marine marshal, Akainu did not speak to them. They agreed to ban Shichibukai, which made them look at Akainu with murderous intent. To be honest, in fact, for 5 elders, whether or not to cancel 7 warlords of the sea does not have a great impact on them. At best, it can only be regarded as a policy error, but now it is in front of the kings and representatives of so many countries in the world. They didn't think it was easy to compromise. They originally hoped that Akainu would delay them for a while, but they didn't expect Akainu to be under their control at all. Sakazuki, are you sure? The bald-headed sword-holding old star asked Akainu coldly. Facing 5 elders questioning, Akainu's expression remained unchanged, and continued to say faintly, since Shichibukai was founded more than 10 years ago, everything that has happened in the process has proved that Shichibukai's existence is not necessary. The duty to combat pirates should be handed over to us marine, rather than relying on the pirates, so 5 elders, banning Shichibukai, is the most correct decision. 5 elders and others are all looking at Akainu with cold expressions, but now it is World Summit. No matter how angry they are in their hearts, they absolutely cannot vent it in front of so many people. Moreover, Akainu is still a high-ranking official in the world government, Marshal Marine. Sakazuki, how come? Marine Admiral Fujitora was very surprised. He had also heard that Akainu had no affection for Shichibukai, but it was decided by 5 elders. He felt that as Akainu, it was absolutely impossible to go against 5 elders' wishes. But the result was just beyond his expectation. Not only did Akainu agree to his proposal, he even said this in front of 5 elders, which shocked him more than he heard Akainu's decision to ban Shichibukai. It seems that 5 elders and Akainu are not monolithic. Representatives of the franchise countries from all over the world are also turning their eyes on Akainu's body. In everyone's perception, Marshal Marine and 5 elders are absolutely one camp. After all, 5 elders directly control Marine, not theirs, and it is absolutely impossible to sit in the position of Marshal Marine. For example, the former Marshal Sengoku, former Marine Marshal Kong Kong, they are all staunch 5 elders supporters. Akainu's upper rank is more or less related to 5 elders' support, so Akainu should naturally support 5 elders. But this scene at this moment undoubtedly makes everyone see that Akainu and 5 elders do not seem to be so harmonious. Otherwise, even if Akainu wants to ban Shichibukai, he will not openly announce himself in such a public occasion. Decided, even if it was because of 5 elders' interrogation. Ask yourself, Akainu, what are you guys thinking? Vin Smoke Judge, who was tied to the same tank as Akainu, was also uneasy at this time. He dared to dominate the North Blue because Akainu supported him and the world government was behind Akainu, so he had no scruples. But now Akainu actually has a conflict with 5 elders. This is a big event. Because of his current status, he is also very nervous. Without the support of Akainu in the world government, it would be difficult for his Vinsmoke family to dominate North Blue. He didn't want to go back to the old days. Since you even Sakazuki think that the existence of Shichibukai does more harm than good, then they have no need to exist. 5 elders is also catching ducks on the shelves at this time. Akainu's attitude is already so obvious. If they are supporting it, it will not be good for them. After all, the existence of Shichibukai has no substantial effect on them. After hearing the decision made by 5 elders, Fujitora was also stunned and did not respond. Isn't this too fast? Even with the support of Akainu, 5 elders won't make a decision so quickly, right? But this is the fact. 5 elders is after all an old fox who has been sitting in a high position for many years. Since Shichibukai can't keep it, why bother to be ashamed? Compared to the so-called Shichibukai, the change of Akainu makes them more jealous. I'm afraid that Marine's life will be difficult. No, it should be because of Sakazuki's life. Akainu's support made Fujitora very happy, but now he is worried about Akainu. After all, Akainu's move helped him, but it offends 5 elders. If 5 elders wants to target Akainu, there will be many ways. Although Fujitora did not appreciate Akainu's many practices, he confirmed that Akainu's importance to Marine is unparalleled. It is precisely because of Akainu's existence that the sea can be stable today, and the number of pirates is also sharp. Akainu is Marine for one day and is a fatal threat to the pirates. Compared to the worries of others, Akainu is quite calm. His approach just now has his own exam school, not a decision he made with his brain fever. My purpose is to completely disrupt this world summit. 5 elders, your days of being aloof are coming to an end. Akainu glanced at 5 elders coldly. Even if 5 elders were staring at him, he was not afraid of it. This time the opportunity is rare in a lifetime. He is going to completely disrupt Marie Joyce to facilitate his future actions. After the abolition of Shichibukai proposed by Fujitora, the scene of the World Summit fell into silence for a while, and representatives from all over the world were afraid to speak casually. They participated in the World Summit, and more of them wanted to mediate with each other through the high level of the world government. But now that 5 elders and Akainu are in conflict, How can they mediate their conflict? The kings and representatives of various countries looked at each other, and the atmosphere now is very strange. 5 elders, something went wrong. At this moment, suddenly someone rushed into the meeting room. 5 elders, who was already so angry, broke out immediately. The bald old star yelled, "Who let you in? Is this a place where you can come in? Get out." The person who rushed in was shocked. This is a Marine Vice Admiral. It's just that it's not the Vice Admiral who belongs to the department, but the Marine Vice Admiral who is responsible for guarding Marie Joyce. He didn't expect 5 elders to react so much. Time froze there. Seeing the atmosphere is very weird, or the old star with long white hair and beard said, "What happened?" The Marine Vice Admiral finally slowed down and immediately reported, "The Revolutionary Army. The Revolutionary Army has appeared in the Holy Land. They fought with the guards of Lord Charles Sage. The guards have all supported the past." What? As soon as these words came out, the audience shook, and 5 elders ignored the anger, stood up in shock, and asked, "What are you talking about? The Revolutionary Army? Are people from the Revolutionary Army making trouble in the Holy Land?" This was an earth-shattering event. The Revolutionary Army actually got into Marie Joyce. This was simply the worst incident in these years. Not to mention 5 elders. Even the representatives present were stunned. Akainu also stood up suddenly, and asked, "How are you sure that you are a member of the Revolutionary Army?" The Marine Vice Admiral reported, "Because it was the Revolutionary Army's General Staff Sabo who was capable of Mera fruit. It can't be wrong. The rest of the Revolutionary Army cadres are also wanted villains." "Did the dragon show up?" Akainu asked again. "I don't know, I haven't seen the dragon show up, so I don't know if he has come." "Why did they attack Lord Charles Saint?" "It seems to be to save the old Shichibukai Bartholomew Kuma." The former Shichibukai Bartholomew Kuma was the undercover of the Revolutionary Army infiltrating Shichibukai. This time the Revolutionary Army appeared to rescue their companions. Akainu said in a deep voice. 5 elders was already dissatisfied with Akainu, and at this time they shouted angrily, "Sakazuki, the guard of the World Summit is your marine responsible. Now the Revolutionary Army has broken into Marie Joyce, what's your explanation?" Akainu is no longer ready to pretend to be an ostrich, so after hearing the question from 5 elders, he said faintly, "We Marine is indeed responsible for the safety of World Summit, but even if it is us, there are many places in Marie Joyce that are not accessible. In this case, how can you prevent those people from sneaking in? This is a tangible truth. Marie Joyce does not allow them to enter too many places. Their Marine can only be responsible for the defense of the periphery, and cannot take care of them internally." The bald old star shouted coldly, "Sakazuki, no matter what method you use, I must catch all the rebels of the Revolutionary Army, especially the dragon." This time Akainu did not refute, and nodded immediately, and then said to Fujitora, "Smile, you follow me." After that, he took the lead to leave. Anyway, the next World Summit has nothing to do with him, and he doesn't need to stay anymore. As for Fujitora, he didn't hesitate to stand up and left behind Akainu. After Akainu and others left, 5 elders spoke again. "The rebels have been dealt with by Marine, and we will continue our meeting next. It's just that most of the people present were not in the mood at the beginning. There were too many changes in the World Summit this time, and everyone was panicked. Many knowledgeable people felt that this World Summit after the summit, the world may not be far behind the chaos. At this time, who cares about the little bit of interest in front of you? More is to consider for the future. In the past, everyone became a member of the world government, hoping to get the protection and mediation of the world government, but now the discerning people have already seen that there are contradictions within the world government, and Marine, among the 3 services, is no longer working together with the world government. As for other things, it's hard to say. Now even the Revolutionary Army dares to mark Marie Joyce. It is no exaggeration to say that the majesty of the world government has dropped a lot at this moment, so that many ambitious people have started. Other thoughts. Sakazuki, what you did just now is not wise. Fujitora quickly caught up with Akainu and whispered to Akainu. Akainu looked at Fujitora and said, "Isn't this the result you always hoped for?" Fujitora hesitated. That said, "But you turned your face with 5 elders for this, and it will not be good for Marine next." Akainu stopped abruptly. He let the other Marines leave first, leaving him to face Fujitora. 5 elders are used to being aloof. They can no longer see the world below Marie Joyce. What they see is the interests of a small group of people. Under this limitation, do you think they will see the harm of Shichibukai? Fujitora said, "This is what I mean by wanting to ban Shichibukai, because Shichibukai has caused disasters for many people. Only by removing them can more people be peaceful. This is one of your reasons for joining Marine, right?" Akainu asked suddenly. Perhaps because today's Akainu is so different, Fujitora is not so vigilant and opened his mind. "Yes, This is one of my reasons for joining Marine. I want to benefit more civilians. They are too bitter. Akainu sneered. Then what do you think is the root cause of all this? This. Fujitora frowned. He didn't understand why Akainu asked this question. How could he not know? He had his own plan in his heart, but he found that Akainu seemed different from the past, as if he could see through his heart. Seeing Fujitora hesitating, Akainu didn't press the question either, but changed the subject and asked, "Do you think my approach today is wrong?" Yes, at this time, especially in front of representatives of all countries in the world, you, as Marshal Marine, shouldn't have something like that with 5 elders. It is enough for me to do this villain. Akainu shook his head. Fujitora still thought too simple. Who has 5 elders? Without him, 5 elders would not be able to compromise so easily. 5 elders are just puppets launched by celestial dragons. Perhaps they have enough power, but the world government has not yet their turn to call the shots. With a smile, I ask you a question, and I hope you will answer it truthfully. Although Fujitora could not see Akainu, who had become very serious at this time, he could feel the tone of Akainu's speech, very solemn, which made him also solemn. You say, if one day, I had a real conflict with 5 elders, which side would you be on? As soon as these words came out, Fujitora's heart throbbed. Even if it was Marine Admiral, he was shocked when he heard such words. He understood Akainu's meaning, but because of this, he became more nervous. After more than 10 seconds, Fujitora didn't speak because he didn't know how to speak. Akainu chuckled and patted Fujitora on the shoulder. Seriously, think about this issue. Let's go. Now let's solve the troubles of the Revolutionary Army. It wasn't until Akainu walked away that Fujitora recovered. He took a deep breath and calmed himself, but his heart was extremely restless, and his mind kept reverberating with Akainu's question. Sakazuki, the old man really underestimated you. It turns out that you are the man who hides the deepest. Akainu had a showdown with Fujitora today. He did that because he believed in Fujitora's character, this blind admiral full of fraternity. He was different from ordinary people, unless he really saw that what he did was irreversible. He's wrong, otherwise it's absolutely impossible to betray him. Akainu led the Marine forces to the place where the Revolutionary Army was making trouble in Marie Joyce. When they arrived, the streets were in chaos. Such a blatant attack on Marie Joyce was the first time in these years. A few years ago, the Murloc Fisher Tiger, Marie Joyce, only attacked at night, and only released the slaves, and did not really cause huge damage. But this time is different. This time the Revolutionary Army is the leader of the dragon. Although the dragon hasn't come out yet, the movement has already become loud enough. At least this street is no longer visible except for the people who are fighting. It seems that the Revolutionary Army is not small this time. Fujitora followed behind Akainu, listening to the situation on the battlefield, slowly speaking. There was indeed a lot of movement. At a glance, Akainu saw that there were dozens of Revolutionary Army personnel, and each of them was of extraordinary strength. It was very miserable to suppress the Marine and Celestial Dragons guards present. I'll do it, Fujitora said to Akainu, and then rushed to the battlefield. As for Akainu, he didn't make a move. The whereabouts of Bartholomew Kuma was naturally revealed by Akainu to the Revolutionary Army. No matter what the Revolutionary Army is fighting with the world government, it has nothing to do with him. He has already made plans anyway. Because of Akainu's intelligence and the fact that the Revolutionary Army was all elites this time, the world government was suppressed for a while, but this situation did not last long. CP0, the strongest shield of Celestial Dragons, soon sent people, such as Stussy and others, and Rob Lucci, who later joined CP0, and others. These people are the most loyal underlings of Celestial Dragons. Now Celestial Dragons is used by the Revolutionary Army. Attacked, they naturally appeared at an extremely fast speed. The battle was earth-shattering, but Akainu never intervened, but watched from the side. I have to say that the Revolutionary Army dared to come to the Holy Land Marie Joyce. It really has some ability. Even if the CP0 people appeared, they still took it. They couldn't help but even Bartholomew Kuma was rescued by the Revolutionary Army. The purpose of the Revolutionary Army is obviously also very clear. It is to save people. After Bartholomew Kuma was rescued, a group of people quickly retreated. Even if Marine and CP0 people were chasing after them, they still did not catch them. The red line is so big. Even the world government cannot fully control it. Sakazuki, why don't you stop the Revolutionary Army? The CP0 people did not catch up to the Revolutionary Army, and after returning, they questioned Akainu in anger. Akainu glanced at these people with contempt, and said coldly, "What are you guys? You are qualified to question me." After that, regardless of the angry CP0 who was about to lose his mind, he immediately turned around and left. After leaving, Akainu did not return to the World Summit site, but returned to the Marine Command Center. I heard that you had a conflict with 5 elders? As the commander-in-chief of the whole army, Kong Kong, This one did not participate in the World Summit today. As the veteran Marine Marshal who has been nearly 100 years old, Sora immediately found Akainu after hearing about today's events. For Sora, the former boss, Akainu still respected him. He replied, "There is no contradiction. Just because there are different opinions on whether to ban Shichibukai, it is not a big deal." Sora hummed suddenly. "It's not a big deal. Who are 5 elders, don't you know? You refute them openly at the World Summit. Do you think they have not happened? They are Director Marine, your immediate boss. Do you face them with this attitude?" Akainu said helplessly. "I was not prepared to speak, but they insisted on forcing me, and I was unwilling to say things that went against my own ideas, so I can only tell the truth. You should be very clear about the harm of Shichibukai. More people think about it, so even if I will be hated by 5 elders, I have to do that." Sora yelled and said, "Sakazuki, is your brain really broken? What do you think for more people? What you have to consider now is yourself. Only if you do well can you keep more people. You enraging 5 elders will only bring you disaster. You have been Marine Marshal for such a long time, don't you even have this political consciousness?" Seeing Akainu silent, Sora finally sighed and persuaded, "Sakazuki, listen to me. I will take you to apologize to 5 elders later. Otherwise, even if you are Marshal Marine, they want to clean up you. There are also many ways. There is no need to be true to them. World government is not something you can change if you want. Marshal Sora, I know you are for my good, but things have already happened. If 5 elders hates me, it doesn't make sense for me to apologize now. If just because of this, 5 elders is dissatisfied with me, then I have nothing to say. Whatever they want, so be it. Even if I remove the title of Marshal Marine, as long as I can continue to kill the pirates." You. Pointing to Akainu, his face is full of hatred that iron can't make steel. He regards Akainu as a confidant. Akainu has done very well in the past 2 years. Because of this, he also has a right to speak in Marie Joy's. After all, as a military marshal, he can't directly mobilize the 3 armies, and needs the support of the marshal of the 3 armies below. As the strongest marine, as long as Akainu does well, his right to speak will be greater. It's just that he never expected that Akainu, who has always been sensible and alert, would actually make such a mistake, and actually had a dispute with 5 elders for a mere 7 warlords of the sea policy. 5 elders is expected to find you soon, you can figure it out. Can't persuade Akainu. Kong Kong can only sigh helplessly and turn to leave. The World Summit on the second day ended. Akainu did not ask about the topics of the World Summit on this day, because he knew very well that what happened at the World Summit was not important in the following time. As Kong Kong expected, after the World Summit, 5 elders immediately sent someone to summon him. "Sakazuki, what happened at today's meeting? Do you know what you were doing?" After seeing Akainu, the attitude of 5 elders was very dissatisfied, and even murderous in their eyes. Today, because of Akainu, the faces of the 5 of them were almost lost. If it weren't for the sudden appearance of the Revolutionary Army, I'm afraid it would be even worse. Many waves. Akainu was calm, and replied faintly, "The harm of Shichibukai is obvious to all. We didn't ask you this. You questioned our decision in front of so many people today, Sakazuki. What do you mean? Do you think you have become Marshal Marine, your wings are hardened, and you dare to refute us?" The bald old star pointed at Akainu angrily and almost rushed to Akainu to curse. Akainu continued calmly, "I never meant it, but you asked me in front of so many people today. What else can I do? Everyone knows that I am dissatisfied with Shichibukai. If I choose to oppose it, wouldn't it be a lie? Add a joke. Make everyone think that I am a villain of inconsistency? Then do I need the face of Marshal Marine? Your face is a fart." As soon as Akainu finished speaking, the bald old star pointed at him and yelled at him, and he didn't save any face for Akainu. Faced with 5 elders scolding, Akainu's face immediately became gloomy. 5 elders really didn't put him in his eyes. Even in front of him, he would scold him like that. If it had been before, he might still endure it. But now he can't help it. First am Marshal Marine, and first represent Marine. My face is the face of Marine. If my face is gone, how can Marine suppress the sea? Kaido said in a cold tone of Akainu. The old star holding a sword said solemnly, "The face of you and Marine is not important. The important thing is the face of the world government. The presence of Shichibukai is nothing to us, but what you did at the World Summit, but it is your fault that made us, the world government, face a big loss." "Then I don't know 5 elders, what are you going to do with me?" Akainu asked. The white curly-haired old star said coldly, "What you did has lost the face of the world government. Even if you have sacked your position as Marine Marshal, you can hardly escape the blame. But what to do with you is to wait for the end of the World Summit. After that, the decision will be made. During this time, Maria Joy's defense will be handed over to the CP." Akainu nodded. He didn't care about this. Anyway, he didn't think about protecting the World Summit to the end. Also, what is going on with the Revolutionary Army today? I heard from the people of CP0, saying that you didn't do anything, and just let the Revolutionary Army people save people and leave. What do you mean? Shouldn't you talk to the Revolutionary Army? Are you in touch? The white curly-haired old star stared at Akainu with bright eyes, and his eyes flashed with thick suspicion, because Akainu's behavior today is really abnormal, and they have a great distrust of Akainu. Akainu replied, I am not incapable of doing it, but I am unable to do it. You know my abilities. If I do it, it will cause great damage, but this is not the main reason. The most important thing is that I feel at that time, there is a powerful force that locks me in. If I guess correctly, it should be a dragon. When I heard the dragon, 5 elders' face changed at the same time, and the old star with the sword asked, Are you sure, it's really a dragon? He's also here, Marie Joyce? Akainu said, I have fought against Long. I am very familiar with his aura. I am 90% sure that it is definitely a dragon. This is also the reason why I didn't do it. Once I do it, the dragon will definitely do it. At that time, the battle will spread to a large area. I think there is no need to cause too much confusion during the World Summit, so I didn't take action. Then you just watched the dragon run away like this? The bald old star asked dissatisfiedly. Akainu said, It's better than causing greater chaos, and even if I take the shot, he may not be able to keep the dragon. His strength is very strong, and since he dares to come to Marie Joyce, it means that he is confident enough to escape. There is no need to fight with them at this time for a Bartholomew Kuma who has lost consciousness. The blonde old star coldly snorted. The Revolutionary Army is getting more and more courageous now, even Marie Joyce dared to break through. It seems that our previous decision was correct, it's time. Yes, it's time. The other 4 nodded in agreement. Only Akainu frowned and asked, 5 elders, what do you mean by saying it's time? It has nothing to do with you, you just need to do your own thing, you go first. The white curly-haired old star said coldly. Akainu knew that 5 elders had become dissatisfied with him, so he didn't ask any more and left immediately. After Akainu left, 5 elders glanced at each other, and then the bald old star said, It seems that this Sakazuki can no longer be trusted. He already has a different heart for us. The sword-holding old star hummed. The reason why he was made Martial Marine was because he had taken a fancy to his character, but he didn't expect how long it took. Such a change happened to him, and he gradually didn't pay attention to us. Inside, Marine can no longer deliver to his hands. The old star with white curly hair agreed. Yes, compared to Sengoku's loyalty to us, this Sakazuki is far behind, and this big problem must be solved. The top priority now is World Summit. After the meeting is over, we will do other things, said the old blonde star. This World Summit lasted for 5 days. Akainu left on the 4th day, because the 4th day was almost over, and there were basically no major events on the last day. Marshal Sakazuki, what happened to this World Summit? After returning to Naval Headquarters, Akainu immediately summoned Doberman and Ghost Spider and other cronies, and when these cronies saw Akainu's serious face, they immediately realized that something bad might have happened. Akainu recounted what happened during the World Summit, and all of his confidants suddenly became serious. Did the Revolutionary Army show up? And because of 7 warlords of the sea, you have a conflict with 5 elders. This matter can be big or small, depending on what 5 elders wants to do. Doberman analysis wrote. Akainu snorted coldly. 5 elders has long been dissatisfied with me. You all know their little actions in Marine in the past 2 years. Even if I didn't speak this time, they were ready to do something to me. The question now is, what will they do? Do it to me now. Lucas asked in surprise. Marshal Sakazuki, 5 elders will really do it to you. With your current status, even 5 elders can't do it to you easily, right? The Ghost Spider said. 5 elders are not simple characters. Once they do it, they will inevitably be a thunderblow, so we must guard against them, but they are our immediate boss after all. If we want to do it to us, there are too many reasons. So, in order to prevent passivity, we must not be led by their noses. We must act first to be strong, Akainu said flatly. Do you really want to do that? You haven't reached that kind of desperation yet? Doubtman hesitated. He knew what Akainu meant, but the matter was too big, even he was throbbing. Akainu said, Don't be afraid of 10,000, just in case, Ghost Spider, you and Lucas go to prepare first. Both the Ghost Spider and Lucas left, leaving only Akainu and Doberman. Akainu asked Doberman, Did something major happen to New World in the past few days? He has been at Marie Joyce these few days and doesn't know what happened to the New World, but according to his speculation, something will definitely happen during the World Summit. There hasn't been much happening in New World recently. It's just that according to our intelligence, New World is not quiet in the dark. It can even be said to be turbulent. Red hair pirates have completely disappeared. We can no longer find their traces. Straw hats. The pirates and the Whitebeard pirates have not taken any action since they fought with Kaido. Kaido, on the contrary, it is Kaido. He is about to move now, and it seems that he is ready to make a big move. Hearing Doberman's narration, Akainu was slightly surprised. He originally thought that during this World Summit, New World would also make big moves. Now it seems that he thinks too much. But think about it again, this is also a normal phenomenon. After all, a huge battle took place not long ago in New World. 2 pirates, 4 emperors, were destroyed. Only Kaido and Shanks were left. They fought again before, so in a short time it is indeed difficult to have another war. The current situation is completely different from that in the animation, so even Akainu can't predict what will happen next. He can only try his best to stabilize his power. Only when his own strength becomes stronger can he have more say. However, he is not worried about the pirates of New World. No matter how powerful the pirates are, it will be difficult to get out of New World. On the contrary, the pressure on him from the world government is even greater. This time at the World Summit, he and 5 elders turned their faces. He was destined to be unstable on this huge ship of the world government. Just as I said before, let our people control the major branch bases and notify the generals of the headquarters to gather for a meeting tomorrow. Akainu told Doberman. Akainu wants to start first. Doberman and the others are also very fast. They communicated Akainu's name very quickly. The generals in the headquarters knew that Akainu was preparing to hold a high-level meeting. They were very surprised, and some felt sensitive. People guessed something big might happen. Regardless of everyone's speculation, the marine meeting started under the auspices of Akainu the next day. Although Akainu gathered the generals of the headquarters, those who were truly eligible to participate in the meeting were all marine executives of vice admiral and above, so the number of people was not particularly large. They sat on the huge round table in the conference room of the headquarters. Looking at the marine senior executives who sat down, Akainu's eyes swept over them one by one. Today's meeting is a showdown for everyone, and it is also about Marine's future, so Akainu is naturally very cautious. As the Marshal of Naval Headquarters, Akainu naturally sits in the main seat of Vice Admiral, and on both sides are Marine Admiral, former Marine Marshal, current Marine Consultant Sengoku, Staff Crane, Doubtman, etc., a total of more than 20 people. To gather everyone here today, there is an important thing to announce. Akainu slowly said. The Shichibukai abolition plan proposed by Mr. Yishao has been officially passed at the World Summit. Therefore, Shichibukai has become a thing of the past and no longer enjoys the privileges granted by our marine. From then on, they are just pirates. Hearing this, everyone present was very surprised. They knew that the Shichibukai system was controlled by 5 elders. How could 5 elders easily agree to abolish 7 warlords of the sea? Only Sengoku's face did not change, because he had learned of the situation yesterday, and it was 5 elders who contacted him directly and ordered more tasks to him. Looking at Akainu, Sengoku's heart is very complicated. According to his conscience, in the 2 years since Akainu became Marine Marshal, the number of pirates in the world has obviously decreased, especially the former 4 emperors who were killed by Akainu. Therefore, Akainu is absolutely impeccable when it comes to dealing with pirates. It's just that Akainu's problem is also very big, too self-righteous and arrogant. Now even 5 elders has opinions on him. Even if Sengoku disagrees, he is very loyal to the world government, so he is not prepared to violate 5 elders' orders. Of course, this is not the main reason why I gathered you all here today. I gathered everyone here today because I have a major decision to announce here. Everyone present was very surprised. Looking at Akainu's expression and tone of speech, it was obvious that what he wanted to say was extremely important. Before I say this decision, there is one thing to tell you. I have news that 5 elders is going to remove me as Marshal Marine. What? When Akainu said this, everyone present was shocked. Dismiss Marshal Marine. This is something that Marine hasn't seen in hundreds of years of history, so everyone is naturally shocked. Marshal Sakazuki, are you kidding us? Marine Vice Admiral Huashaoshan couldn't help asking. Although this Marine Vice Admiral is not a direct line of Akainu, Akainu's hard work over the past 2 years has made many people very trustworthy. Marine is also thriving. At this time, if Akainu is deposed, for Marine, it is definitely a huge disaster. Akainu said in a deep voice, do you think I would make a joke about this kind of thing? You don't know what happened at this World Summit. 5 elders actually suspected that I had something to do with the dragon, and because I supported the banning of Shichibukai, I am extremely dissatisfied with me and want to dismiss me from the position of Marshal Marine. Seeing that Akainu is so sure, everyone is unable to understand. Akainu and dragon unite. How can it be? Sengoku looked at Akainu incredibly. Among all the people, he was the one who was the most shocked, because 5 elders approached him yesterday and talked to him a lot, the most important of which is the Akainu problem. 5 elders does have move Akainu's thoughts. It's just that he didn't expect that when 5 elders was ready to take action, Akainu was already prepared, not to mention that Akainu's sensitivity was so strong. Before 5 elders started to take action, Akainu had already taken action, and watched Akainu's move to showdown. It is clear that there is already a plan for the next step. Except for Sengoku, no one knows the details. The older Zephyr gets hotter. He suddenly shouted, "Sakazuki, what are you saying is true? 5 elders really have such thoughts?" Akainu snorted coldly. "They not only have the idea of dismissing me, they even want to get rid of me. For them, our marine is just a knife in their hands. If this knife can't fully obey their orders, they will cut off this knife without hesitation. You may think that I am alarmist, but the people in the world government can move me today and any of you tomorrow, and today I am holding this meeting because of this matter." Sengoku was the last marine marshal. He was loyal to the world government and knew the details, so he naturally didn't want everyone to be instigated by Akainu, so he said, "Sakazuki, what you are talking about is a catch-up thing, and it didn't happen. I think we still need to be cautious about things. After all, we Marine is a military force attached to the world government." Akainu's sudden confession made Sengoku feel very uncomfortable, so he decided to hold Akainu first before speaking. He who is loyal to the world government naturally does not want Akainu to do anything harmful to the world government, even if there is such a sign, nor does it work. Akainu glanced at Sengoku faintly. He knew that even though he had been Marine Marshal for such a long time, Sengoku had never regarded him as his own, even if he abdicated and became a Marine consultant, but his orders for Akainu and he didn't agree with the policy very much, and he usually remained silent, but at this time, he was no longer silent, because Akainu was about to touch his bottom line. We Marine is indeed a military force attached to the world government, but you probably don't know one thing. During the 2 years when first was Marine Marshal, Marine's military expenditures have decreased a lot compared to the past, especially this year. It's 20% less than 2 years ago. Hearing Akainu's words, most of the Marine generals present were shocked and found it unbelievable, because in the past 2 years they have never felt the military budget tension, but more abundant than before. Now Akainu said that, of course they are very shocked. In fact, they thought that Marine's military expenditure was more than before. But looking at Akainu's serious expression, it didn't seem to be lying at all. It made them more nervous. From the beginning of the meeting, they knew that today's meeting was different, but the more they talked, the more they felt it's not right, because the appearance of Akainu is obviously very dissatisfied with the world government. Akainu continued, "I know that everyone is very puzzled as to why the military expenditure has obviously decreased, but your income and expenses are higher than before. The reason is very simple. This part of the money is our Marine's military expenditure transformed through self-sufficiency, not from the distribution of the world government." As soon as these words came out, the leaders of Rear Admiral looked at each other. They had already guessed, but after getting Akainu's affirmative answer, they were still shocked. According to Akainu, they can have their own military expenses without relying on the world government. The source? Sakazuki. What do you mean by that? The most angry person is Sengoku. He has already felt that the development of the situation is very wrong. At this moment, he is annoyed by Akainu, hoping that Akainu can stop the meeting, but how can Akainu be as he wishes? Ignoring the angry Sengoku, Akainu still said to himself, "I know that everyone must have the same doubts as Sengoku consultants. The reason why I say this is to tell you that the meaning of our marine existence is not just a vassal of the world government, but a force that maintains order and justice. Also, calling everyone here today is just to show my attitude. Even if 5 elders wants to remove my position as Marine Marshal, I will definitely not sit still." The people present all heard Akainu's implication, and many of them changed their expressions. Does this mean they are going to fight 5 elders? When everyone was shocked, suddenly the door of the meeting room was knocked, and Akainu frowned. This meeting was extremely important. He had already given a dead order before it started. No one was allowed to disturb. Now someone dares to violate it. His order made him very dissatisfied. But even if he was dissatisfied, he still resisted, snorted coldly, and shouted, "Come in." It was his confidant Lucas who came in. Lucas was also the only Marine Vice Admiral in the headquarters who did not attend the meeting, because Akainu gave him the guarding of the headquarters. Seeing Lucas, Akainu was even more surprised. Lucas has been with him for more than 20 years. He is one of his most powerful men. He also knows him well and knows that he can't be disturbed at this time, but Lucas still knocks on the door, which shows that something that he can't judge must have happened. "What's the matter?" Akainu asked in a deep voice. Lucas replied solemnly, "Marshal Sakazuki, Commander-in-Chief of the 3 armies of the world government, Master Kong Kong is here. It is nearly 100 years old, but it is still very strong. He is still the commander of the 3 armies of the world government. He ranks high and is second only to 5 elders. He can also be said to be the biggest backer of Akainu before." Because of his identity and status, he has been stationed at Marie Joy's and would not leave Marie Joy's easily, but now Sora has left, and came to the naval headquarters base in silence without saying hello to Akainu. Akainu immediately realized that Sora must have come with a mission, and must have something to do with him, and his face became more gloomy. Where is it? Since Sora is here, it doesn't make sense to talk about anything else. He knew that 5 elders would take action, but he never expected that 5 elders would move so fast. He just returned to his headquarters yesterday, and today Sora follow him. Get here right away. Lucas replied cautiously. In fact, he also sent his hands to delay a little. After all, this is the new naval headquarters. I have never been here. Even if I know the situation here, I still need to come over. For a period of time, not to mention that Lucas sent someone to procrastinate. He was trying to get enough time for Akainu to respond. Akainu nodded and told Lucas, "Go and bring Marshal Sora here." At the same time, he winked at Lucas. Lucas understood, and immediately left the conference room. After Lucas left, Akainu's gaze swept across the faces of the other marine generals with different faces, and said lightly, "Everyone, you have all heard, Marshal Sora is here, he must be bringing 5 elders. The mission came, and there is only one mission, and that is related to me. Most likely it is to remove me from the position of Marshal Marine." "Sakazuki, are you thinking too much? It won't be what you think," Sengoku retorted first. Except for Sengoku, the rest of the people did not speak. Even people who had different political views on Akainu in the past are still silent at this moment. How could it be so coincidental? As soon as Akainu finished speaking, Sora came. Akainu said, "My time is running out, but as I said before, it is impossible to sit still, so I will definitely resist." "Tisk tusk, Sakazuki, listening to your tone, it seems to be making trouble?" Although Kizaru's tone was lazy, his expression was extraordinarily serious, staring at Akainu firmly. Akainu shook his head and said, "I don't like the word, being guilty of chaos. I think everyone knows what kind of person I am. I, Ishin, only wants to maintain the justice of Marine and the peace and tranquility of the sea. What I have done in the past 2 years everyone sees it. Compared to 2 years ago, Grand Line and 4 Seas captured countless pirates, saved countless civilians, and made the sea a lot more peaceful. This is obvious to all. I believe everyone will not refute, will they?" Everyone did not refute, because what Akainu said was the truth. Under Akainu's rule, Marine had effectively attacked the pirate forces and made the sea much calmer than it was more than 2 years ago. This is also an important factor in Akainu's popularity. But even so, everyone still didn't dare to take the conversation easily. After all, what Akainu said, in the eyes of most people, is a rebellious and unruly remark. If you are not careful, you will die. Who dares to take it? Okay. Having said so much, I just want to ask you all, if the world government is really going to dismiss me from the position of marshal, I will not sit still. If they really push me into a hurry, I will do it. Plan for the worst and let Marine break away from the world government and become an independent military force." After Akainu said this, the Marine generals present were all shocked. Only Doberman and Ghost Spider remained calm, because only the 2 of them knew Akainu's thoughts in advance. What? Independent? Sengoku was even more shocked, stood up like being stepped on his tail, pointed to Akainu and asked, "Sakazuki, what are you talking about? You want to leave the world government and let Marine be independent? Are you crazy?" Akainu replied very calmly, "I'm not crazy, I'm very calm. Do you want me to catch me with my hands and let 5 elders handle it?" Sengoku's angry beard kept shaking, and said angrily, "Sakazuki, you are really crazy. We Marine is the military force of the world government. You want to make Marine separate from the world government. You are a betrayal and cannot be tolerated. Betrayal, I will never allow you to do this." Afterwards, he glanced over other people and asked loudly, "Aren't you guys have nothing to say?" But what surprised him was that apart from him, no one really stood up to refute, even those Marine Vice Admiral who had been loyal to him in the past, and even Zephyr and he, who had been with his companions for decades. There is also no opening. Akainu also did not give others a chance to agree, and took the lead and said, "Sengoku consultants, it is not that I want to be independent, but the people of 5 elders who are forcing me to do so. They want to depose me. In their eyes, we Marine it's just the tools in their hands, everything must serve them, but in my eyes, Marine is synonymous with justice. We are not the knife in their hands. What we want to maintain is the interests and safety of the vast majority of the people, not specifically for some people make profit. I know you guys must think my thoughts like this are crazy. But you turn your heads and think about it. The world government has cut Marines many times. This is not just for me, but they have begun to fear our strength, so find ways to weaken Marines' strength. I can assure you that even if there is no world government, we Marine can survive independently, so you don't have to worry about leaving the world government. Marine will not survive." "Sakazuki, Are you really sure, if we leave world government, we Marine can survive? The one who asked this was Zephyr. The former Zephyr was loyal to Marine in the world government, just like Sengoku. However, there was a broken arm incident. Sengoku refused to avenge him because of the order of the world government. Loyalty disappeared most of the time. Later, Akainu took the initiative to argue for him and gave him a chance. Now even if he is older, he still holds a high position. Therefore, he now trusts Akainu more than the world government and Sengoku. It's very weird to say that at the beginning, Akainu and Zephyr caused the naval headquarters to be known to everyone. Although the two sides were not enemies of life and death, they hated each other deeply. But now, the two people who should have been hostile have become rivals. The relationship of mutual trust, therefore, things are impermanent, and sometimes the enemy is not necessarily the enemy, and the friend may not always be the friend. Akainu replied affirmatively. Of course, I have a detailed plan on how to proceed next, and I will never disappoint everyone. Apart from the Sengoku consultant, who has objections. Everyone at the scene looked at each other. At this time, no one could hear what he meant. Akainu was obviously determined. If anyone dared to jump out at this time, he would be against him. With Akainu's cruel heart, it is probably not good ending, so even if someone doesn't want to do that, they don't dare to stand up and refute like Sengoku. Boom. Sengoku slapped an angry slap on the table and pointed at Akainu and cursed, Sakazuki, don't forget your identity, who brought you up? If you dare to betray, I will be the first to let you go. Akainu looked at Sengoku coldly and suddenly said, Sengoku consultant, I know you have always been dissatisfied with my position as Marine Marshal, but dissatisfied with it. Now that the world government wants to do something with Marine, we should unite. Be consistent, not blame each other. Fart. Sengoku cursed innocently, followed by a series of unpleasant curses. The people present were all dumbfounded. They had never seen Sengoku look so grotesque. This kind of inferior curse would actually explode from Sengoku's mouth. Out. Akainu's face was calm, and was not disturbed by Sengoku's ugly curses. After Sengoku cursed for a while, then he turned around and glared at the others and shouted, Are you going to commit trouble with Sakazuki? Do you all want to betray too? Crane, Zephyr, Kaji, Huishan, what about you? Several people were pointed out in succession. These people have a very good relationship with him. He believes that these people will definitely stand on his side and resolutely oppose Akainu's decision. Zephyr was silent. He stood firmly on Akainu's side. The others looked at Suru Vice Admiral. Everyone knows that Sengoku's best partners are Garp and Suru. Now that Garp is not there, Suru is naturally Sengoku's most determined partner. Suru's complexion is very calm. She knows the current situation more clearly than Sengoku. The current situation is obvious. Akainu is obviously confident, otherwise she would not say so here. Sakazuki, I don't think it's irreversible. Let's not say whether 5 elders are going to remove your martial status as you said. Even if they really have this idea, this matter is not theirs. Whatever you can decide, we will guarantee you and let you continue to sit in this position. What do you think? Now it's the most unwise choice to fight Akainu head on, so she uses circuitous tactics, but she knows better, that it's impossible to move Akainu in this way, but he doesn't want Sengoku to be so reckless, otherwise she is worried that Akainu will do it. Sengoku did it. Marshal Sakazuki, I also think Suru Senpai made sense. Think about it again. Marine Vice Admiral Huishaoshan whispered to Akainu to persuade Akainu. Akainu looked at Suru Vice Admiral and slowly said, Senior Suru, I respect you very much, but don't say more about this meaninglessness. Do you think you haven't heard what I said today? Called here, there must be a result. Seeing that only Crane and Huishaoshan came out, Sengoku's face became extremely ugly, but no matter how sharp his eyes were, the other Marine Vice Admiral executives who were present were silent. You. Sengoku trembled with anger. Akainu didn't care how angry Sengoku was, and continued. Marshal Sengoku has come to naval headquarters under the order of 5 elders, so there is not much time left for us. Now we need you to make your own choices and be willing to support me. The person who made the decision will continue to sit. Those who are unwilling to support me can stand up now and stand with the Sengoku consultant. I will never make a decision that harms everyone just because everyone disagrees with me. After the voice fell, the expressions of all the people present changed. Even Sengoku's eyes were full of hope, hoping that someone could stand up and go with him, but he was soon disappointed. No one actually stood up. There are many people in Marine who have strong personality and prefer to bend, but no one who can achieve this position is stupid. How could it be as simple as Akainu said? So no one wants to be the first bird. Angrily smiled. Sengoku was really angrily smiled. He pointed to the Marine generals in the office and scolded. It seems that you have forgotten your duties. You are soldiers who exist for the peace of the sea. Now to succumb to Sakazuki's personal power and prestige, you have lost your essence, and you are no longer worthy of being a soldier. Many people were embarrassed by Sengoku, but still no one stood up to support him, because in the 2 years of Akainu as Marine Marshal, they have gained more benefits, and they are much richer than they were 2 years ago. And Akainu's military management is also very strict. In the past 2 years, Marine's prestige has increased day by day. This is all the credit of Akainu. In the past, Marine generals like them met the officials of the world government. They bowed their heads and bowed their tails. Although everyone didn't say anything, who would be willing to bend their knees all the time? Now that Akainu makes this decision, it may be extremely dangerous, but what if it succeeds? At that time, you won't have to bow down to serve the high-ranking officials, and you can even go further. Therefore, even some people who are unwilling in their hearts, but seeing no one dared to jump out first, they naturally dare not stand up even more. This is the herd mentality. At this moment, Tsuru Vice Admiral suddenly said, "Sakazuki, I am so old that I am no longer suitable to continue to serve in naval headquarters, so I would like to resign to you this time." When these words came out, everyone looked at Tsuru Vice Admiral in amazement. Many people thought that Tsuru Vice Admiral would stand on Sengoku's side, but unexpectedly, even though Tsuru spoke, he did not refute Akainu, but chose resign. What this signal means, everyone present is very clear. It is obvious that under Akainu's strength, Tsuru is different from Sengoku. Sengoku chose to be tough, and she chose to retreat. Akainu frowned, looked at Tsuru's calm face, pondered for a moment, and finally nodded and said, "Okay, I agree." Crane has a very good relationship with Sengoku. Although he is not inclined to the world government like Sengoku, he obviously doesn't want to help him abuse him. Well, even if he is the king of Joe, Crane didn't jump out to accuse him like Sengoku did, but chose to resign. This is the best choice. Little Crane, you. Sengoku looked at Tsuru Vice Admiral dumbfounded. He originally thought that Tsuru would be like him, but he never expected that Tsuru would retreat from his current position and did not choose to stand with him against Akainu, which made him really unacceptable. Crane spoke calmly and persuaded. "Sengoku, now is not our time, but the age of young people. It is time for us old guys to abdicate. What will happen to Marine in the future? The master should be in the hands of young people. It should be up to us old guys who have been out of the times to make the decision. But now he is going to betray the world government and choose independence. This will put Marine into an unhealed place. This is the home we have been fighting for decades. How can we bring him to destruction? I can't accept it." Sengoku roared. Many people lowered their heads in shame, but more people were indifferent. "Mr. Sengoku, how do you know that our Marine independence means our own destruction? We have been under the control of the world government for too long. We can't just make a puppet like before and let the group of people in the world government command. Sakazuki the Marshal was right. If we don't break or stand, we break and then stand. Perhaps we will break away from the world government, which will make Marine more pure and better able to maintain the peace of the sea. The new era is approaching, and I think it is indeed time to make changes." An astonishing scene happened. The speaker turned out to be Marine Admiral Fujitora with a smile. Everyone knows that Fujitora has a good relationship with Sengoku, and a normal relationship with Akainu, but now Fujitora actually supports Akainu's decision, and also said this. It's really unbelievable. Smile. Do you know what you are talking about? Sengoku angrily asked Fujitora. Fujitora hadn't answered, and someone spoke, but the ghost spider suddenly stood up and said loudly, "Mr. Sengoku, I think Mr. Yishao is right. It's time for us to make a change in Marine. Since the establishment of Marine, it has been they are all loyal to the world government, but what did 5 elders do to us? Constantly cutting our military expenditures, forcing us to do things that violate justice, and even letting us Marine wait for orders for celestial dragons." The ghost spider said that Yu was angry. "We are Marine, a force defending the justice of the sea, not a tool in the hands of some people, and not a slave. I know that Mr. Sengoku is loyal to the world government, but it is already broken to the bones. If we continue, we Marine will really help the abuser, so I agree with Marshal Sakazuki's decision to let Marine be independent." The ghost spider is the belly of Akainu's Ishin. This is something that everyone knows, but what he said has touched many people's hearts. Many of them have been commanded by officials of the world government and celestial dragons. Some of them are even in the eyes of 5 elders and celestial dragons. What they have done in these years is very clear in their hearts, but they did not at all dare to have 2 hearts, and now Akainu is the first to stand up against it. Naturally, these people's minds have also changed. I also agree with Marshal Sakazuki's decision. Doberman also followed. I agree. I agree too. I have no opinion. In just 10 seconds, 70% of the people in the conference room expressed their opinions. Without exception, they all agreed, and the rest of the people, seeing so many people stand up, did not hesitate anymore, one after another. One agreed, and in the end there were only a few people who were still struggling and hesitating, unwilling to speak. You. Sengoku was desperate again. There were more than 80% of Marine's senior management. With so many people supporting Akainu, one can imagine how majestic and prestigious Akainu is in Marine. This is only 2 years, and he as Marshal Marine had only abdicated for 2 years, and no one paid any attention to him anymore. This situation made him very desperate. Sengoku consultant, this is what people want. A faint glance at Sengoku, then Akainu stood up and announced in a deep voice, since everyone agrees to my suggestion, then everyone must be prepared. The world government will not let us break away so easily, even there may be a big battle next, and I hope you won't get confused by that time. It's unreasonable and unreasonable, Sakazuki, you are really crazy, and I will never let you go crazy. Sengoku knew that even if he continued to stay here, he would not be able to persuade Akainu, let alone change the result, so he stepped out and wanted to leave the meeting room. But as soon as he took a step, someone stood in front of him. It was a ghost spider. Then Akainu said, Sengoku consultant, this meeting is not over yet. Isn't it a bit bad for you to leave like this? Sengoku said angrily, what? You still want to put me under house arrest, Sakazuki? Akainu said, naturally dare not, but the meeting is not over yet, and the predecessor is coming soon, are you not going to meet him? Sengoku's face was extremely ugly. He saw Akainu's thoughts. Akainu didn't let him leave at all to prevent him from leaking the news. At the same time, he couldn't help but worry about being empty. It could be seen that Akainu was not afraid of the arrival of empty. It may even be prepared already. Sakazuki, I hope you don't regret it. With a low angrily, Sengoku returned to his seat with an ugly expression, and then closed his eyes, not wanting to say a word. In fact, he regrets it very much in his heart. If he knew that something like this would happen today, he should inform Garp. If Garp was there, with Garp and his prestige, he might not be able to compete with Akainu. It's a pity that Garp is far from East Blue. It is impossible to help him. Looking at the gloomy Sengoku, Suru couldn't help sighing. She knew Sengoku's dissatisfaction. With Sengoku's wit, how could it be impossible to tell the situation? He just didn't want to admit it. In just 2 years, he gave it to him. The gap is too big, not to mention the independence and future of Marine. How could this old man who has dedicated his life to Marine be as indifferent as others? Boom. The door of the meeting room was violently pushed open, and then a group of people broke into the meeting room like a swarm, which made many people in the meeting room frown, but Akainu seemed very calm. Marshal Sora, Marshal Sakazuki, and they are having a meeting, you. Lucas followed this group of people and eagerly explained to the tall and sturdy old man at the front that this old man was the former Marine Marshal who was nearly 100 years old in Kong, who is now the commander of the 3 armies of the world government. Behind him was a group of people in suits, some of whom were wearing masks. People familiar with them all know that these people are officials of the world government. Enough, there is nothing for you here, you can withdraw. Kong hadn't spoken yet, but a world government official in a suit behind him yelled at Lucas. Lucas glanced at the person faintly, stopped talking, but didn't step back, just stood there and didn't move. Sakazuki. Sora looked at Akainu who stood up. His complexion was rather complicated, but he quickly became firm. Akainu asked, Senior Kong, you brought so many people into our conference room, is there anything serious that can't happen? For Kong, Akainu still has some respect. After all, he is able to achieve this position, and Sora is also doing his best, so even if he wants to turn his face with the world government, he is not prepared to deal with Sora. Sakazuki, oh, I won't say anything. I wanted to say something, but finally sighed and said nothing. At this time, the world government official who followed Sora said coldly, Marshal Marine Sakazuki obeyed. Akainu frowned and asked, who are you? What qualifications do you have to order me? Seeing that Akainu had no respect for this person, he was very dissatisfied and said, I am a high-ranking official of the world government. This time I came to naval headquarters to give orders from Lord 5 Elders. Why? You even ordered 5 Elders. Don't listen anymore. Of course I won't violate 5 Elders' orders, but who knows who you are? What qualifications do you have to pass orders? Akainu bluntly fought back. Cough. Kong coughed slightly and said to Akainu, Sakazuki, they did give orders from 5 Elders. Akainu said non-committal. Well, then tell me, what instructions does 5 Elders have? After Sora waited for the people to come in, Sengoku opened his eyes, but when he watched Akainu clash with world government officials, he did not speak because he was already discouraged and didn't think these people could control Akainu, so he just watched the development of things quietly. As for the others, let alone say that they are now on the same line with Akainu. No matter what Akainu decides, they can only grit their teeth and follow. Until the dust settles, none of them dare to speak. The official of the world government was very dissatisfied, and coldly snorted, 5 elders ordered Marshal Marine Sakazuki to temporarily step down as Marshal Marine and go to Marie Joyce to wait for dispatch. As for the affairs of naval headquarters, Sora and Sengoku will be responsible for the time being. As soon as this remark came out, the audience was shocked. Although Akainu had mentioned this possibility before, it was a guess before, but now the world government official announced this decision in front of everyone. Shock. It turned out to be true. 5 elders and the others really wanted to do something to Marshal Sakazuki. If there were some people who were under pressure before, then their mentality has immediately changed and they are sincerely approaching Akainu. After all, 5 elders just cancelled 7 warlords of the sea just because Akainu supported Fujitora at the World Summit, and will dismiss Akainu as the Marine Marshal. Isn't this too domineering? In any case, Akainu's contribution to Marine over the years is definitely not comparable to that of ordinary people. Marshal Marine is also a high-powered person. It is so simple to be dismissed. Is it really just like what Akainu said before? 5 elders did not compare. Marine takes it to heart. It's just a tool. If the tool doesn't go well and is disobedient, can it be replaced at will? In an instant, a lot of people have strange thoughts in their hearts. If they were them, they might not necessarily be as intense as Akainu's reaction, but they would certainly not be content to be so simple. Shall I step down as Marshal Marine? Is this really the decision of 5 elders? Akainu didn't look at the world government official at all, but looked at Kong and asked slowly. Sora replied with a complex expression. Sakazuki, it is not to remove your position, but to retire you temporarily. After you go to Marie Joyce and talk to 5 elders in detail, you can still resume your position, so don't think too much. Many. Akainu asked back, is it possible? After that, he turned his gaze to the senior official and said faintly, I want to remove my status as Marshal Marine without any warning. Even 5 elders cannot do this. In Marine history, there has never been a Marshal Marine. You can decide to stay with just one word, so if you want to dismiss me from the position of Marshal, let 5 elders tell me in person. Sakazuki, what do you mean? Do you want to rebel? Sora's face changed drastically, but someone was more upset than him, and the senior official of the world government pointed at Akainu and scolded. Should I be accused of rebellion so easily? It seems that you really can't wait to get rid of me. Smiling contemptuously, Akainu's face instantly became cold, and he said coldly, then I can only say that your wishful thinking is wrong. I am the least like being threatened. Don't you want to depose me? Didn't you say that I was rebelling? Very good, then I will let you see it once and for all as you wish. Come on. Before Sora and the others could react, Akainu suddenly yelled. In an instant, under the leadership of Doberman and Ghost Spider, 7 or 8 Marine Vice Admiral in the conference room, Sora and the others quickly got up. Not only that, but also rushed into dozens of Marine generals from the outside, each holding a gun and staring at the people of the world government fiercely. Fortunately, this conference room is spacious enough to accommodate hundreds of people. But even so, the conference room became crowded in an instant, but now everyone would not think of this. Sora and the people from the world government were all staring at Akainu in horror, and even Sengoku and others were stunned. Speaking of doing it, just do it, this is amazing. Sakazuki, what are you doing? Are you crazy? The most angry person is Sora. Sora was pointed at by countless guns. Sora was not afraid. He just couldn't accept such a thing. He didn't expect that one day, he would be pointed at by Marine soldiers with a gun, and this order it was still an order from his optimistic Marine Marshal Akainu. Of course I am not crazy. Akainu's expression was very calm, looking directly at Sora, and said faintly, you want to kill me, don't you allow me to resist? Sora roared, who is going to kill you? What are you talking about? He was really stunned. This used to be his place. Many people here were brought out by him. As a result, he was pointed to his head by his former subordinates. What a shame and anger. Akainu spoke again. Senior Uranus, you have known 5 elders for so many years, don't you still know them? Destroy me from the position of Marine Marshal and let me go to Marie Joyce. There is only one possibility. They want to get rid of me, but they look down on me too much. I am different from other people. I will definitely not just go to Marie Joyce, so it's impossible for me to go to Marie Joyce. You really dare to say that, Sakazuki, I think you are crazy. Sora shouted angrily, then turned to look at Sengoku who was silent, and asked, Sengoku, what is going on? Facing the question of the old boss, Sengoku sighed helplessly, and said, can't you see such an obvious situation? Sakazuki is determined to go against it, and more than half of the people in Marine decided to follow him, and I was helpless. It's too late for you to come, Sakazuki won't let you go. He also felt sad for Sora. He didn't come early or late. It happened to be here at this time. Didn't it hit the muzzle? Although Akainu is unlikely to kill Sora, he will definitely imprison Sora. He knows his mind well. Just like him, Sora is loyal to the world government and must not go crazy with Akainu. That's why it is even more impossible for Akainu to let go of Sora. Sakazuki. What Sengoku said is true. Are you really going to rebel? Sora asked in disbelief. Akainu said, yes, I won't wait and die, so I can only stand up. Since everyone trusts me, I can't let everyone down. I will announce the news of Marine's independence soon. From then on, Marine and world the government does not matter, and 5 elders is not qualified to point fingers at Marine anymore. The old man sees you as lustful. The old man originally did not support 5 elders' decision, but your choice really made the old man very heartbroken. It seems that you want to rebel in a day or two. The old man is really blind. Did not see your wolf ambition, Sakazuki. You are seeking your own death. Not only that, you will drag millions of people in Marine to confuse with you, you will harm everyone, and you will be nailed to the pillar of shame. It was spurned by thousands of people. Kong was heartbroken. He couldn't wait to slap Akainu to death with a slap. He never thought that Akainu had such a wolf ambition. If he had known it, he would never let Akainu stand at the current height, so that it is difficult to control now. Sakazuki, you untouchable, you. Knowing that Akainu really wanted to rebel, the high-ranking officials of the world government suddenly became furious. They pointed at Akainu and began to curse. The curse was extremely filthy and unpleasant. Bang, bang, bang. But these people obviously have forgotten whose site is here. They just cursed a few words. They were rushed up by Lucas with a few people, slapped them, and beat them all in a few moments. They are all high-ranking officials of the government, who are respected and privileged. They have never faced this situation before, so they are all embarrassed. The bodyguards behind them reacted very quickly, but no matter how fast they were, how could Marine be as fast as they were? Before they started, they had been pointed at the forehead by the gun, and they didn't dare to act rashly anymore. 5 elders is also arrogant. I really thought it was going to take me down, so I sent these rubbish? Akainu sneered in his heart. 5 elders is indeed arrogant. He thought that if he sent a few senior officials of the world government, Akainu would be arrested. As everyone knows, Akainu is completely different from their previous perceptions. He has no respect for the world government. Faithful, how could such a person step down as Marshal Marine just because of their words? Take them all to me. Akainu waved his hand and asked Lucas to leave with the officials of the world government, leaving only one person empty. Kong Lang looked on, and waited for those people to be taken away, before he said, Sakazuki, I really underestimated you. 5 elders also underestimated you. People who have been cultivated for many years will turn out to be wolf ambitions. A traitor who committed a rebellion. Akainu said, I am a traitor, yes, but I was not like this at the beginning. I will become what I am now, and I will be forced by 5 elders. If we hadn't had our Marine to maintain the peace of the sea these years, the world would have been chaotic. But even so, the world is still getting more and more chaotic. In order to maintain the rule, how much evil did they do? How many people were killed? If they were allowed to continue like this, the world would be destroyed by them. Kong said coldly. I don't know that the world will be destroyed, but I know that the consequence of this is that Marine will be destroyed in your hands. Marine, which has existed for hundreds of years, will be wrong because of you. Ruined by his decision. Akainu confidently said, continue to follow them to ruin our future. Without them, Marine will still exist, and it will become better. You can watch it carefully. It seems that you will not let the old man leave? Kong asked. Akainu said, of course, I'm also doing this for your good. After all, Marine will be independent. If you return to Marineford, 5 elders will not let you go. It is better to stay at Marine. Do you think you can keep the old man? Sora asked again. I know your strength is very strong, but if you choose to use force, it will only cause greater losses, and it will not change the development of things, so why bother? At this time Sengoku stood up, walked to Sora's side, and whispered, he has already taken control of Marine, so there is no point in doing it. Sora stared at Akainu for a long time, and finally snorted very unwillingly, Sakazuki, you disappointed the old man too much. After speaking, he glanced around in the conference room again, and cursed. You are the same, you don't deserve to be a Marine. In this case, Sengoku just said, but now Akainu has a high prestige, even if someone feels guilty, he will never show it. Akainu ordered, send Marshal and Sengoku advisor to leave. And me. Suru also stood up at this moment and walked to Sengoku's side, and Akainu did not stop him either. Let's go, 3 seniors. Lucas respectfully spoke to the air, Sengoku and Suru said, and then left the meeting room with the 3 people with ugly faces. After Sengoku, Sora and Suru were taken away by Lucas, Akainu sat down again and the meeting room was silent. Everyone who should leave has already left, and then we will enter the most important part of this meeting. As a result, on the second day, Every major media in the world was dominated by a piece of news, and then everyone in the world was dumbfounded, shocked, unbelievable, and all kinds of emotions came to their minds. Marine is independent. That's right, Marine Marshal Akainu publicly announced at the Naval Headquarters base that Marine has become independent and has no relationship with the world government. Marine has officially separated from the world government and has since become an independent military force. However, Marine's responsibilities have not changed. Will continue to be responsible for the tranquility and peace of the sea as before, but they will only be responsible to themselves in the future, not to the world government. Crazy. Everyone who saw this news, ordinary people, pirates, countries around the world government, etc., countless people were frightened by this news. As the most powerful military force in the sea, world government Marine, who relied on, unexpectedly announced that it would leave the world government. This is definitely a huge blow to the world government. Since Akainu became Marine Marshal, the prestige of Marine has increased day by day in the past 2 years. In particular, the removal of the 2 great pirates, 4 emperors, has greatly increased the recognition of Marine by ordinary people. But even so, in my eyes, Marine is only a military institution under the world government, and the credit should come from the world government. But now that Akainu's decision has been made known to everyone, there has been a conflict between Marine and the world government, so that Akainu announced its separation without the world government's knowledge. This is absolutely hundreds of years. The worst thing that happened under the rule of the world government. Marine's independence is 10 times worse than Roger's becoming the One Piece king. Dragon's establishment of the Revolutionary Army is 10 times worse. Although the name of One Piece was great, it did not have much impact on the rule of the world government. Although the Revolutionary Army developed rapidly, it was far from threatening the foundation of the world government. However, Marine became independent, and this was shaken. If the roots of the world government cannot be solved effectively, the huge ruling power of the world government is likely to collapse instantly. Marine is independent. I really didn't expect that guy Akainu could do this level. Many people who knew about Akainu and Marine were also shocked, but they soon realized that in this matter, the decisive role is definitely Marine Marshal Akainu, and only he has this ability. While the World Summit has not yet ended, such an earth-shattering drama was staged. The guy Akainu is really awesome, but isn't this exactly what Laozi has been expecting to happen? The battle to subvert the world is coming. Now, Laozi is already ready, come on. New World, Kaido, one of the only remaining pirate emperors, laughed nervously after hearing the news. Among the 4 emperors of the past, Kaido is definitely the craziest one. He has always wanted to destroy the world, but he has never had a chance, especially in the previous battle with the Straw Hat Pirates Alliance. The pirate group was severely hit, and it has not recovered. He originally thought that his plan would be delayed for a long time, but he did not expect that a major incident of Marine independence would happen at this time. This immediately made him realize that the world war he had been waiting for was coming. I knew he was difficult to deal with for a long time, but I never thought that he was so crazy. Marine was independent, he didn't leave him behind. Where did he come from the confidence to dare to follow the world government so positive and rigid? Among the red hair pirates, Shank's hands with the newspaper began to tremble. Even a man like him was shocked when he knew this. It was really scary and crazy. Yeah, it's crazy, I didn't expect it either. Beckman was also terrified and said quietly. Although Red Hair Pirates is the least in the 4 Emperors Pirates group, they also participated in the battle not long ago and saved the Straw Hat Pirates and others, but after that, there was no more movement. Until this time when he learned that Marine had made such a decision, the red-haired Shanks felt unbelievable. Although he knew that Akainu was a very powerful character, it was really impossible for him to break his head to think of doing such a thing. Because of some special reasons, Shanks and even the depth of world government, he was even more shocked. He believed that Akainu also knew it, but Akainu still did that. He really couldn't understand how confident Akainu could be like that of world government. The behemoth wrestling? Looking at these recent decades, how many people dare to oppose the world government? Roger is half of it. After all, even if he became the One Piece king, he caused trouble to the world government after his death, which triggered the Great Pirate Era. Although the 4 emperors were powerful, they did not actually cause too much influence on the rule of the world government. The only big influence is the Dragon of the Revolutionary Army. This is the few people and organizations that have dared to oppose the world government head-on in the 800 years since the establishment of the world government. Never mind the dragon. Although he was also Marine before, he did not have a high status, but Akainu is different. Akainu is Marine Marshal, and now it is not only Akainu who rebelled, but led the entire Marine independently. The meaning is completely different. Marine independent pages in media newspapers occupy the vast majority, and the rest is the announcement of Marine branches in newspapers around the world to follow naval headquarters and leave the world government. It can be said that 9 out of the marine branches in the world chose to rebel, and the remaining one did not react, but they did not have much influence. It was at this moment that the leaders of the major forces discovered that in a short period of time, Akainu's control of marine has reached such a terrifying level. He made the decision that more than 90% of the people were willing to follow him. This is what a terrifying influence. In fact, they didn't know that Akainu had already started the layout many years ago. The base officers of the major marine branches were basically replaced by people who were loyal to him, and after his brainwashing education and training, he was determined not to move to follow him, of course, part of which is also a loyalty card from the system. Because the World Summit has not completely ended, the news that 7 warlords of the sea is about to be banned has not spread. The remaining Shichibukai were shocked to hear the news of Marine's independence. Their identities are world government bans. Yes, but they have always been controlled by Marine in the past, and now Marine is independent, making them somewhat incomprehensible. It's boring. For someone like Hawkeye who is pursuing the ultimate kendo, even if it is such a big event, he doesn't care much. Others are always watching the development of the situation. Shichibukai's identity has given them a lot of convenience. When possible, they still don't want to lose such an identity. The most angry person is naturally the staff of the world government, especially 5 elders. After seeing the news, they almost fainted. They did not expect that they had not been dismissed from the position of Marshal Akainu Marine. They were rebels by Akainu. The first army led Marine to rebel. If it hadn't been prepared for it, it would definitely not be so fast. As for Sora and the world officials who went to naval headquarters, there is no news at all. 5 elders in them all feel that these people must be bad luck. 5 elders didn't take charge without authorization. The matter was too serious this time. No matter how high they were, they couldn't make a decision. So the 5 of them went to Mariajoy's throne to see Lord Yim behind the scenes. After arriving at the destination, 5 elders saw Yim and immediately knelt down on one knee. In the holy place Mariajoy's, especially in front of Yim, the various rules are quite strict. Even for people of 5 elders status, they meet Yim. It's not that easy. I already know your intentions. Marine independence is indeed a threat to the foundation of the world government. It is absolutely not allowed to happen, but Marine Marshal Sakazuki is your recommended person, so you have to bear certain responsibilities. High above the throne, EIM sat there, looking down at 5 elders, and said coldly. 5 elders lowered their heads and faced Doim's questioning. All 5 of them did not speak. They did recommend Akainu to be the Marine Marshal, because at that time Akainu was the most suitable Marine Admiral for Marshal Marine. Not only did they have the strength, the wrist, and the love of most people. Facts have also proved that Marine has indeed flourished in the hands of Akainu in the past 2 years, especially the prestige of Akainu in Marine, which made all 5 of them feel uneasy, but they didn't think it was a bad thing until Akainu at the World Summit a few days ago. Their attitude reminded them that Akainu seemed to have been out of their control. Realizing the bad 5 elders, they took action the next day and sent a high-ranking official to send Akainu back to Mariajoy's, but Akainu was crazier than they thought. Not only did they refuse, but they also led the Marine Rebellion. Ready to be independent, this is undoubtedly stabbing a hornet's nest, and the 5 of them are almost crazy about it. This time I came to see Yim, hoping to get affirmation from Yim, so that they can use their greatest strength to deal with Akainu and clean up Marine. Marine, is there still a need? The white curly-haired old star asked. Yim said solemnly. As one of our most important military forces, Marine is absolutely not to be missed, but those who are disobedient have no need to exist. Understood. 5 elders nodded. IM asked again. Are you sure to take down the traitors of Sakazuki? 5 elders replied in the affirmative. No problem, we will definitely be able to win them. IM said in a deep voice. Don't underestimate Sakazuki. Since he dared to lead Marine's rebellion, it means that he has sufficient assurance and plan. If you are paralyzed, you are likely to suffer. If someone else said that, 5 elders would have turned their faces, but facing Yim, they only had to obey orders. Yes, Lord Yim. Yim waved his hand and said, Go, I hope to hear the good news soon. Anyone who despises the world government and poses a threat to the world government must be strangled in the cradle. 5 elders left Im's palace and returned to their place, but the faces of the 5 people were very ugly, and they were no longer confident as before. The bald old star took the lead and said, I said a long time ago that Sakazuki has no respectability and is not a good person to control. Now that there is such a big mistake, what should I do? Well, what are you talking about these nonsense now? Since there is a problem, then solve him. Sakazuki thinks that if he takes control of Marine, he is qualified to challenge us. He is still far from it. The bald head holding a sword said coldly. The old star in a long-haired dark blue suit asked, Naval headquarters is not far from us, how can we fight? Who should be sent? Although there are major military forces under the world government, Marine is definitely ranked first. The current naval headquarters base is different from the previous Marineford. Marineford is surrounded by the control of the world government. It can be controlled by the world government. Mobilize troops. But the current naval headquarters base is in New World, and the power of the world government in New World is the weakest. Therefore, even if the naval headquarters base is very close, it is not so easy to fight it. Because it never thought that Marine would rebel, the world government naturally did not have a good way to guard against and respond to Marine, which is why 5 elders became anxious for it. The blonde old star said, or send someone with sufficient strength to the naval headquarters base to implement the decapitation plan. As long as Sakazuki can be killed, the others are not a concern. The eyes of the other 4 people lit up, but soon the old star with white curly hair asked, then who should I send? You all know the strength of Sakazuki. If you want to get rid of him without knowing it, it must be several times stronger than him. Who can do it? Even though they hate Akainu to the bone, they had to admit Akainu's strength. The assassination plan is okay for ordinary people, but to deal with Akainu, especially the current naval headquarters base, they must have entered the special security guard. Can the people they send getting into it is a problem, let alone assassinating Akainu? Let's try to contact our people in Marine first. The white curly-haired old star finally said, and then the 5 of them began to contact. Although 5 elders is a power representative, they also have their own factions. As their direct subordinates, they naturally have their own eyeliners. Now they expect their own. The eyeliner can provide them with enough information before discussing how to act. 5 elders all started their own actions, but soon they were disappointed, because they found that they could not get in touch with their inner respondent. Even if someone did, the inner respondent could not provide much inside information, making 5 elders unable to. The current situation of the Master Naval Headquarters Base. Damn Sakazuki, it seems that he had the idea of rebellion a long time ago, so he was so prepared. 5 elders and the others were very angry, and their resentment towards Akainu reached its culmination. They believed that Akainu would have been ill-intentioned, otherwise it would be impossible to achieve such a seamless fit, and even their inner should in Marine was discovered. Immediately announce the decision of our world government in all media. We will never allow Marine to be independent, and at the same time let the personnel of the various units gather. When necessary, force the use of force to resolve the incident. After Marine's independent news appeared that day, the whole world was waiting for the response of the world government, but 5 elders and the others had been discussing it for a long time, so the time for world government's decision to appear in the news media was the next day. The reaction of the world government was similar to what everyone expected, except that even though the world government issued an announcement, it did not immediately take action, because even the highest level of the world government wanted to mobilize the 3 armies, but they could not just move. Yes, especially during the World Summit, it is not easy to mobilize the army. Akainu also knew this, so he was surprised. At this time, Marine was in a state of unity and concerted efforts. Even if the world government sent troops, Akainu would not be afraid. However, the 5 elders of the world government, EIM and others did not know that Akainu announced that Marine independence was not the worst, because after they announced their decision, neither the 4 Seas nor the Grand Line were calm. New World, Naval Headquarters Base. Sakazuki, you guessed it, 5 elders did not immediately start their actions. In Marshal Marine's office, Akainu and Ghost Spider were sitting across from each other, and Ghost Spider slowly said, they didn't expect us to be independent at this time. There was not enough time to react. Now they can take the best choice. There is only one, and that is to secretly shoot and send someone to secretly shoot you. Assassin? They want to assassinate me, they don't have the ability yet. Akainu snorted disdainfully, they only have this method left now. The Ghost Spider said cautiously, although we caught them by surprise, we can't be paralyzed. The world government has existed for 800 years and has a profound background that can deter the world for so many years. It is enough to show their strength. We still have to be more careful. And although we have uncovered a lot of world government's internal responses, no one knows how many others are, and it is impossible to keep on guarding them. You're right. 5 elders are just a bright character introduced by celestial dragons. There are even more powerful characters behind them. Recently, we really have to be careful of their assassinations. Not just me, but you are also the same, Akainu said. He was not very worried about the assassination of the world government. With his current strength, even if he sent a few admiral-level powerhouses, he might not be able to kill him. What's more, he wanted to be assassinated at the naval headquarters base. It's even harder, unless they can send more than a dozen admiral-level powerhouses, but is it possible? Now what Akainu is more worried about is behind the scenes of the world government. He knows that there must be unimaginable hole cards behind the celestial dragons family. It is very likely that it is Uranus among ancient weapon. This is the result of inferred by countless Jaime. In his opinion now, the credibility is still relatively high. Therefore, in his opinion, unless the world government has the power to destroy the entire naval headquarters in one blow, it is not easy to kill him. However, in his estimation, the world government is probably not terrifying to this level. The ghost spider asked hesitantly, Sakazuki, are you connected with the dragon? Why do you ask? Akainu asked. The ghost spider said, we have just declared our independence. The revolutionary army has taken a big move. It can't be such a coincidence, right? Akainu shook his head and said, when Marie Joyce, Long did come to me and wanted to cooperate with me, but I didn't promise him, he said it was very nice, after all, he still wanted to use us. The power? But although I didn't cooperate with him, I guess he has an internal response in Marine, and the status of internal response is not low, otherwise it would not be possible to respond so quickly. The people in World Government 5 Elders are not good people, this dragon is also it's not so much better. Although he has contact with Long, they are all expedient measures. He does not believe in Long. Under certain circumstances, he may be able to deal with the world government, but there is no close cooperation. It turned out that not long after Marine announced its independence yesterday, the Revolutionary Army acted wildly. They just wanted to take advantage of Marine's independence and develop themselves quickly, because at this time the world government's eyes will inevitably be attracted by Marine, and there is no time to go. Take care of them. 5 Elders and others are well aware of the dangers of the Revolutionary Army, so they wanted to negotiate with Akainu, but they were all shirked by Akainu. Since they decided to become independent, Akainu would naturally not be willing to be threatened by the world government. The 5 Elders, who was so embarrassed and angry, no longer cared about anything, directly sent a large army to the naval headquarters, and at the same time carried out encirclement and suppression of the Marine branch around the holy place Marie Joyce. However, Marine had already been prepared. As soon as the world government took action, it was discovered that there was an exchange of fire between the two sides at sea, and the result of the exchange was beyond everyone's expectations. The army of the world government was actually defeated by Marine. In the past, when Marine belonged to the world government camp, 5 Elders and others did not pay much attention to Marine's combat effectiveness. On the contrary, they felt that Marine could not solve the problem of pirates and believed their strength. That's it, it is enough to be able to balance the 4 emperors of pirates. But after the war this time, they discovered that it was not that Marine's combat effectiveness was inadequate. Above the sea, the rest of their military forces were actually not Marine's opponents at all. Not only was the battle with the naval headquarters defeated disastrously, but even the troops that went to encircle and suppress the Marine branch were repelled by the Marine branch. Marine seemed to have turned from a prey to a hunter, and the world government coalition forces could not fight back. However, the world government is not without gains. Several Marine branch base officers were assassinated by CP0 assassins, but this is tantamount to drinking poison to quench thirst. It can't solve the most critical problem at all. If you succeed in an assassination, it does not mean that you have been assassinated. Both can be successful, and this method cannot be used forever. Even if you kill all the base officers of the Marine branch, as long as naval headquarters still exists, there will be someone who will take over. The pattern of the world is changing rapidly. With Akainu taking the lead, the Sea High and Grand Line have become chaotic. When 5 Elders gritted their teeth for Marine independence, the 4 seas, which have always been under the control of the world government, have also undergone tremendous changes. The Marine branch of the 4 seas has been eliminated. Among them, North Blue has the largest movement and quiet, and it is the Vinsmoke family of the original North Blue royal family. The family took the lead, and several kingdoms announced their separation from the world government. Although these countries are on the fringe of the franchise, their rebellion undoubtedly added fuel to the fire. Especially the Vinsmoke family, under the leadership of Vinsmoke Judge, launched a crazy attack on North Blue. With the support of Marine, coupled with its own strength, it is invincible and unstoppable. In a short time, it has even taken down. The vast territory makes the Vinsmoke family once again the king of North Blue. North Blue is like this. Although the other 3 seas are not so fierce, they have changed to varying degrees. Some countries that were originally neutral are all ready to move in this situation. In addition, the Revolutionary Army is behind it. The world has also become chaotic. After all this happened, many people thought it was unbelievable. At the moment before, the world government still overpowered the world and held a world summit. As a result, the whole world was in a state of collapse at the next moment. Although the world government is still a behemoth, anyone can do it. It can be seen that they are already sunset Langshan. If they are not handled properly, this great summer may collapse in an instant. What? Lasana was attacked. What is going on? Naval headquarters, Akainu asked Lucas angrily. It turns out that Akainu just received the news that his disciple Lasana was assassinated. The reason why he was so angry with Lucas was because of Lucas's oversight. Lasana led his troops to meet the army of the world government. As a result, the world government was given a good opportunity and sent several master assassins to assassinate Lasana. The world government is naturally clear about Akainu's situation, so they launched an assassination of Lasana. Although they did not kill Lasana in the end, they still severely wounded Lasana to death. If it weren't for the rescue efforts of the guards around him, Lasana would die tragically at that time. For Akainu, he is considered unaccompanied in this world. What he cares most about is his only disciple, Lasana, who is like his biological daughter. He previously asked his staff to pay attention to the assassination of world government agents, but never thought that the other party actually took aim at his disciple, and he almost succeeded in one blow. Sorry, Marshal Sakazuki, it's all my fault. Lucas lowered his head. He is now Marine Vice Admiral, but his main job is still an escort. From Marine Marshal Akainu to cadres in various important departments of Marine, the escort work is assigned to him, although this time it cannot be completely he was at fault, but he knew very well that at this time it was an idiot who would make an excuse, and he could only speak after Akainu was relieved. Call. Akainu sighed heavily. He knew that Lucas could not be completely blamed for such a thing. Lasana herself also had a great responsibility, but now Lasana was seriously injured and he could only vent his anger on Lucas' body. 5 elders, it seems that they really don't need a bit of dough. If that's the case, let's play to the end. Akainu looked fierce. Before, he had not thought of using the most fierce method to fight against the world government, but what 5 elders did touched his bottom line. Now he wants to take 5 elders and all of them beheaded. We announce that the world government will assassinate us Marine. We must not be passive. Let the personnel of each Marine branch encircle world government officials around the world, and send a message to the world government participating countries. We Marine will fight if the world government starts a war. If they remain neutral, we will never take action against them, but if they want to help the world government deal with our Marine, we will first regard them as our primary goal. If it is just a sacred place, Marie joys, Akainu is not particularly worried. What he is most worried about is the countries joining the world government. They may not be very strong as a single individual, but once they are shot at the same time, even Marine will quickly be destroyed. This is the most terrifying part of world government. But if it was in the past, world government 5 elders and others would definitely have this kind of power, but now the sea has already been chaotic. Needless to say, New World, except for the Pirate 4 Emperors, is naval headquarters. The influence of the world government is very weak. Even in the first half of the Grand Line and all over the world, the influence of the world government is now greatly reduced. There are many franchising countries that firmly stand on the side of the world government, such as the countries of the major ethnic groups of celestial dragons. These countries are all celestial dragons. The ancestral land of the family, the collapse of the world government, they are the most unbearable. But in more countries, although they have joined the world government, they are not under the control of the world government. If the world government is strong, they will naturally not say anything and remain firm, but now the world government looks like a big summer. There must be a lot of people thinking about it. At this time, Akainu's words can definitely make these people deeply jealous. Marine has torn apart with the world government, and 5 elders has also sent many people to sneak into the naval headquarters to assassinate. Although they killed some people, they also paid a great price. The fighting between the two sides has escalated more and more. If there is only Marine, even if their strength is strong, it is absolutely impossible to stop the giant of world government, but at this time the Revolutionary Army Dragon is more or less reliable. There is no pit Akainu. Perhaps he also realizes that if it is Marine after playing, their Revolutionary Army will also lose the best opportunity. In the anime, because of the huge storm caused by the Straw Hat Pirates, the power of the pirates has greatly increased. Nowadays, the pirates are overwhelmed by Akainu. The power of Marine is definitely greater than the power of the pirates in the original book. Strong, start, naturally more powerful. This is the result you made. The Holy Land, Marie joys, and I am on the throne, asked 5 elders in a deep voice. In just a few days, the world has changed drastically. The Celestial Dragons clan aloft finally couldn't bear it. They united in anxious manner and found 5 elders. Hope that 5 elders can resolve the rebellion as soon as possible. But the problem is that 5 elders can't do this at all. The two sides quarreled for a long time, and finally got to Yim here, so there was a scene where Yim questioned 5 elders. 5 elders knelt before the throne, facing Yim's questioning. Cold sweat was shed on their faces. Master, I am. Marine Sakazuki seems to have done a good job of rebellion long ago, and he knows our situation very well, so the previous countermeasures did not have effective results, but you can rest assured, my lord, we have already taken the next step. You will hear good news soon. They continued to act against Marine, but they were all avoided by Akainu. Although they killed many insurgents, they did not shake the foundation of Marine, and they themselves suffered a lot. Of course, for 5 elders, the loss is not a big deal. Their world government has some manpower, but this process allowed them to see Akainu's methods. Originally, they didn't do much to get rid of Marine. After all, Marine originally belonged to the world government. If the number one military force, such a powerful force, is destroyed in this way, it would be a fatal blow to them, so they still have a glimmer of hope in their hearts. But this ray of hope has gradually disappeared. Akainu's control of Marine is beyond their expectations. Even if they are threatened and lured, they have not bought many Marine seniors, and even the people they had previously placed in Marine seniors are most of them. No longer contact them, and I don't know if it was a rebellion or Akainu saw through it. Anyway, now they are basically blind to the news of naval headquarters. In this case, they will naturally not act rashly. If they want to do it, they must kill with one blow. What they didn't expect was that they had made a plan, but before they could take action, the patriarchs of the Celestial Dragon's clan could not bear it first, and ran to Yim to file a complaint, which made them very passive and helpless. The next step. Tell me about it. Although Eim was angry, he did not question the meaning of 5 elders. The efficiency of these 5 old guys is actually quite good. Although there have been problems in recent decades, in general, he is still quite satisfied. The huge world is still under their control, only this time Marine's rebellion made him unacceptable. The white curly-haired old star said in a deep voice, Marine is no longer in control. If this is the case, then they have no need to exist. We can create Marine, but we need their loyalty. Now that their loyalty is gone, then we will completely destroy them. 5 elders are all murderous, they have also lost all patience, now they want to completely destroy Marine, Akainu, and all those who dare to rebel. That's it. I'm asked. Master Im, what do you mean? Yim said. As I said before, the world is already in chaos. What I want is a world under control, a healthy world. Now that the world is dying, it's time for a major operation. What I want is not Marine, what I want is the whole world, and now it needs to be thoroughly cleaned. Do you understand what I mean? 5 elders' expressions changed drastically, but they did not object, instead they replied respectfully, yes, my lord. Now that you know what I mean, then do it, tell me what you need, I just want the result, not the process. As the head behind the scenes of the world government, Yim's pursuit is different from that of ordinary people, otherwise he would not stay behind the scenes. After 5 elders left Yim's throne, their complexion was very ugly. Although Yim didn't scold them harshly, but based on what they knew about Yim, Yim was already dissatisfied with them, so they must do something next. Score. It's time. 5 elders glanced at each other, and they all saw firmness in each other's eyes. They are 5 people, the highest commander of the world government, but they are not always in the same mind. Many times they have to consider themselves. But today, they must put everything aside and meet the enemy together. They are important members of the world government ship. If this ship sinks, they will be most affected. Therefore, if there is no way, they must let the ship sink. This big ship is safe and sound, even if part of it is removed, it can be repaired in the future. After making a plan and getting approval, 5 elders no longer had any scruples, and immediately started to act. It's messed up. This time it's really messed up, unprecedented chaos. All the troops under the world government were dispatched to send troops to the 4 seas in the Grand Line at the same time. The already chaotic world structure was rioted again. The world government made all-out efforts, and its power is naturally different. Almost within 2 days, most of the 4 seas have been calmed down. What is even more terrifying is that more than 1/3 of the marine branches in the 4 seas have been defeated by the world government. Even if the strength of the marine branch is not weak, the franchise country still suffered heavy losses. Among the East Blue, West Blue and South Blue, the marine branch where they are located were all hit hard. Only North Blue was better because Akainu had been in North Blue for a while, and there was the Vinsmoke family, the local hegemon. Together, they also blocked the offensive of the world government. New World, a meeting that may determine the future world structure is unfolding. Haha, Sakazuki, you are finally here. Seeing Akainu in a red suit come in, Long laughed and walked over, preparing to hug Akainu. Akainu avoided the enthusiastic dragon and said coldly, I am not in the mood to talk nonsense with you here. The world government has already started to act. They are very ambitious. They not only want to destroy, but also want to destroy everything. Those who oppose them, including your revolutionary army, this time they are determined and will never die. Long reduced the smile on his face, became serious, and said, you are right. They did make up their minds this time, but the same, aren't you and me the same? Anyway, it's already on the bright side. Now let's see who is better. You are very confident. Akainu snorted disdainfully. To be honest, even now, he doesn't understand where Long has such confidence. Although the revolutionary army has caused a lot of trouble, it has only been established for decades after all, and has always only dared to avoid the development of the world government. Although the power is great, it is not enough to shape the foundation of the world government. but is it because of his cooperation that Long is so confident? Long Hahe laughed and said, the combination of you and me is enough to fight against the world government, but it is not enough to get rid of the fundamental problem, so this time I also brought friends, plus them. Then maybe it's impossible. Akainu frowned. Before he came, he had sensed that there were people around him, but he thought it was Dragon's subordinates. Now that he heard Dragon say this, it was obvious that these people were not his subordinates. You asked me to meet, so you dare to take other people? Although he had agreed to cooperate with Long, he was very dissatisfied that Long brought people to see him without his permission. Long smiled and said, they are all like-minded friends. They will be of great help to our plan. Humph. Akainu snorted coldly. He had already discovered that the dragon's attitude towards him had changed a little. He was no longer scrupulous and co-opted as before, but put it to equality, and he was even ready to take the initiative now. Of course he understands why the dragon has changed. It is nothing but that he led Marine to rebel and is already on the cusp of the storm. Without foreign aid, he would definitely not be able to stop the retaliation of the world government. That's why Long felt that he could not do without his help. As the dragon clapped his hands, some people walked into the room. The first person to appear immediately changed Akainu's face. Redhead, Shanks. That's right, the first person to rush in is actually the red-haired Shanks, the former pirate for emperors. Dragon, you are too much, Akainu said coldly to Dragon. Although he rebelled against the world government, he is still Martial Marine, and the pirate is Marine's biggest enemy and the object he wants to eradicate. As a result, now that Long actually brought the pirate to see him, he was of course very angry. Long immediately persuaded. Sakazuki, don't be too nervous, I have no malice. You and I are on the same front now, how can I harm you? Ha ha. In response, Akainu sneered with disdain, but finally left without anger. He did hate the pirates, but Shanks was different from ordinary pirates, and now it is indeed difficult for him to fight the world government alone. He needs someone get in the front. He is naturally very clear about the idea of the dragon. Everyone uses each other, but the dragon is even more versatile. As long as the world government can be overthrown, everyone is willing to cooperate. Seeing that Akainu did not immediately leave and turn his face, Long smiled even more. This result was expected by him. Akainu was very strong just now, but from his point of view, this is a sturdy and powerful appearance. Now the initiative is the master, in his hands. After welcoming the others to sit down, he said, everyone, this Martial Marine shouldn't need me to introduce it, right? There were 7 or 8 people who came with Shanks. Akainu realized that he didn't even know any of them, and he didn't know the origin of these people, so he asked Long to bring them by himself. Martial Akainu of course we know. Among the few people, only 1 or 2 smiled kindly at Akainu, and the others were silent, as if they didn't pay attention to Akainu at all. Sakazuki, let me introduce these friends to you. Long enthusiastically introduced Akainu. After Akainu listened to it, he was relieved. It turns out that these people, except Shanks, are the representatives of the big families or royal families hidden in the dark. It is a family that does not obey the world government. When the world government was strong, they naturally did not dare to mess around, but now that the world government is weak, they rushed to show up and wanted to get a share of the pie, so they contacted the dragon. Moreover, Akainu also keenly discovered that although these people looked very ordinary, they were very arrogant in their bones. Even if they faced the famous Revolutionary Army dragon, they did not respect too much. Therefore, he guessed that these people are very likely. It is part of the gold masters behind the Revolutionary Army. After all, no matter how powerful the dragon is, if there is not enough funds, it is impossible to expand the Revolutionary Army's ranks so large. In the process, Akainu did not make any comments and listened to Long Shu. To gather everyone together today is a goal, and that is to overthrow the world government. This is our common goal. Even a city like Long is very excited at this time, because now is the best opportunity to overthrow the world government. He has waited for decades, and finally has to wait until this moment. How could he not be excited? The others were also very excited. Only Akainu and Shanks were indifferent. Akainu didn't know what Shanks thought, but as far as Akainu was concerned, he was very disdainful. When Akainu and Shanks did not interrupt, the dragon naturally became the protagonist. The meaning of the dragon is very simple. It is to make everyone act immediately and fight the world government. Although the world government is powerful, if the heroes join together, they can't bear it either. Perhaps seeing the opportunity, those few people Akainu didn't know all agreed to Long's request, and then left without any communication with Akainu. After everyone else left, only Dragon, Akainu and Shanks were left. That dragon put away his smile and returned to seriousness. Previously, his posture was shown to those few people. In fact, what he really cares about is the attitude of Akainu and Shanks. Akainu represents Marine and Shanks represents the pirates. Only the two of them are what he values most. Ali. Sakazuki, Shanks, now, for our respective purposes, it's time to work together. Akainu said lightly, I won't cooperate with the pirates. Long Dao. I know, so I will not let you cooperate with the pirates. I believe that with your ability, we will definitely not let us down. Shanks looked cold and slowly asked, if the world government is overthrown, what are you going to do? I want the sea to restore peace, not the constant battles that overthrow the world government. You are sure to build a more complete one. World? Long confidently replied. You can rest assured that afterwards, we will definitely build a more perfect world. Just because of the discordant attitude of this group of faces and hearts, Shanks looked at Akainu and said, you think so too? Akainu said faintly, indeed, I am not optimistic, but Long is right. At present, the most important thing is to overthrow the world government. Only in this way can we better establish a new order in the future. As for what the final result will be, then it depends on their respective abilities. I see. Shanks nodded and said, I am not too interested in the new order you were talking about. What I want is peace and freedom. I will not do it according to your ideas, I will only implement it according to my own ideas. Long smiled and said, so, it means that we have reached a tacit understanding. None of the three would obey each other, so fighting each other and contacting each other, this was the best choice in Long's view. When the world government was aggressively encircling and suppressing the reactionary forces, the anti-world government forces led by the Revolutionary Army also launched a counterattack at the same time, and a world-class war officially kicked off. The world government originally thought that once they did their best to eliminate Marine and the Revolutionary Army, it should not be difficult. But the reality is that they slapped them with a resounding slap. One after another world government joined the alliance and chose to withdraw from the alliance and backhandedly help the Revolutionary Army. To deal with the world government, the peaceful world has gradually been suppressed, and it has once again become chaotic. Countless power families jump out to fish in troubled waters and disturb the situation. What shocked the world government even more was that the pirates of New World also launched an attack on them. The only two pirate emperors in the era of the pirates abandoned their previous suspicions, gave up their hatred of each other, united and dealt with them together. One pirate emperor is scary enough. Now the two pirate emperors are united, as well as the new pirate emperor Straw Hat Boy and others. The combination of these forces is also very terrifying. Almost within a few days, the world government is in the territory of New World fell. When the world government joined the New World countries, they all announced their withdrawal from the world government alliance. The entire New World suddenly became a paradise for pirates. The only thing that can fight against them is only naval headquarters are left. However, when the pirate forces were rioting, naval headquarters did not start any action and was still fighting against the world government. The situation between the two sides was already very obvious, and they would easily not take care of other things until the winner was determined. The world is so chaotic that it seems to have exceeded the expectations of the five elders and celestial dragons. Even the Yim behind the scenes did not expect it to evolve into this way. They are preparing to carry out a major cleansing, but they are preparing to clean. The subject actually started the action at the same time, which would be strange if there were no problems. But no matter what happened in the middle, they don't have time to think so much now. They can only passively challenge them, mobilizing all the forces under their command and shrinking their strength. This is what the world government has encountered in the past 800 years. If the biggest crisis cannot be passed, the huge world government will collapse in an instant, but if they can pass it, their control of the world will reach a height that has not been reached in the past. Therefore, this time for the world government, it is not only a great crisis, but also an opportunity to rebirth. Naval headquarters. Even if five elders were madly trying to subvert naval headquarters, under the resistance of all parties in Marine, the army of the world government has not been able to reach its headquarters. Now it is because of the resistance of the pirates that the army of the world government can only be forced to recycling. Today's naval headquarters can be said to be solid. Sakazuki, we are a step late, and Poseidon is gone. The ghost spider said to Akainu with a guilty expression. Who moves so fast? Akainu frowned slightly, because the world situation has become clearer and clearer, and the various forces have secretly contacted each other. With the cooperation, it may not be long before they will be hit near Marie Joy's, the holy land of the world government, so he has also started his own preparations. This time the ghost spider was sent to the Fishmen Island to force Shirahoshi back. He knew that Shirahoshi was Poseidon. If he had Poseidon, this would have great strategic significance for his future control. It's just I didn't expect that their actions were still a step too late. The ghost spiders didn't find Shirahoshi, and even clashed with the Murlocs. The Fishmen Island didn't know who supported it. The attitude was actually tougher. A good ghost spider is not the kind of personality that explodes at a point, otherwise the two sides will probably break out on the spot. I know that Shirahoshi belongs to Poseidon. There are not many. If the world government knew it, it would have acted long ago. It is neither them nor us, so it can only be. Before Akainu finished speaking, the ghost spider's eyes lit up and shouted, "Revolutionary Army, Dragon." Akainu nodded and said, "The dragon and the Straw Hat Boy have been in the Fishman Island. They probably also know Shirahoshi's Poseidon identity. The dragon has great ambitions. He doesn't just want to overthrow the world government. He wants to establish himself. Government, so for ancient weapon Poseidon, he will definitely be the master in his hands." The ghost spider asked with a gloomy face, "Then what should we do? We have worked hard for so long, but we can't let the dragon take advantage in the end. If we let him gain power, we might not have a good end." Akainu sneered and said, "Don't think about it so much now. The world government is still weighing on your head. In any case, we are not suitable for conflict with them. We will wait for the overthrow of the government of the world government and celestial dragons." Seeing that Akainu was not too nervous, Ghost Spider was relieved a lot. After following Akainu for so many years, he naturally knew the character of his immediate boss. If he was not sure, he would never be so calm. Ancient weapon. Uranus is in the hands of the world government, Poseidon is in the hands of the dragon, and the rest of Pluton is in our hands. In this contest, who has the final laugh, we still have to see whose fist is harder. Akainu asked the ghost spider, "Is Vegapunk ready?" The ghost spider replied, "Everything is ready. We have given Vegapunk all the support. Vegapunk can only follow our orders now. Pluton was also successful with his help. The power will definitely surprise everyone." For Vegapunk, a scientist who has hundreds of years of wisdom beyond the current world, Akainu has always valued it very much. He did not hesitate to spend a huge price and obtained it from the world government for his technology. And Vegapunk did not let him down. Not only did they help Marine build more advanced weapons, but they also conducted a lot of research secretly. Among them, Pluton is the biggest secret weapon, and the Pluton they built this time is not just a historical one. Ancient weapon, but Pluton after a certain transformation, is more powerful. This is also the reason why Akainu was not in a hurry after learning that Poseidon disappeared. The power of Poseidon is indeed terrifying. It can control sea kings, but it also depends on who it is facing, and it also depends on Shirahoshi, the carrier of Poseidon. Unable to achieve the desired effect, these are all unknowns. Compared with the human weapon Poseidon, Akainu values Pluton more. He is not taking immediate action now, just waiting, because he knows that the world government has the existence of Uranus. Uranus may be the most powerful of the third-generation ancient weapon, it is the world government. So he didn't want to be the first bird at this time. Since the dragons are so anxious, let them come first. In a blink of an eye, another 7 days have passed. Although only a few days have passed, what happened in these few days has made the world government even more embarrassed. More than 1/3 of the world's forces have united under the lead of the dragon. At the same time, they attacked Marie Joy's on the Red Line, the holy land of the world government. It belongs to the general trend of the world government. In this short period of time, it collapsed like an avalanche, which is shocking. Akainu saw that the opportunity was indispensable, and immediately dispatched the Marine Army to attack the Red Line from the direction of New World. For a time, the world government was under siege from all sides, and all the major forces attacked at the same time, with great momentum. Above the world government Marie Joy's, it can be described as chaotic now, and the Celestial Dragons clan is even more frightened. They have dominated the world for 800 years. They have always been human masters, and now there are people who dare to resist them. They had never experienced anything before, and panic filled the entire Celestial Dragons group. The panic of the Celestial Dragons naturally led to the operation of the world government, forcing the power of the world government to shrink quickly. Most of the power was gathered in the Holy Land Marie Joy's. It seems that they are also preparing to fight to the death with the major forces in Marie Joy's. See Circle Calendar, 1522, Winter. On the 33rd day of the Battle of the Sky, the coalition forces of the major forces finally fought Marie Joy's. The reason why it was called the Battle of the Sky was the crusade against the world government regime led by the Celestial Dragons, which is referred to as the Battle of the Sky. From the beginning of the battle to fight Marie Joy's, it lasted a total of 33 days. Although the time was short, the intensity of the war was unprecedented. In these 33 days, the number of casualties reached as many as millions. Both the coalition forces and the world government suffered heavy losses. But the more the coalition forces reached the end, the stronger the coalition's momentum, because many countries and forces that followed the world government, after seeing the world government getting more and more decadent, immediately changed their courts and turned their heads to deal with the world government, which led to this. The world government, which was not at a disadvantage in the first place, became weaker as it hits. Hasn't Marine's Akainu come? Just the day before the coalition was about to launch a general offensive, the leaders of the coalition, headed by dragons, gathered to discuss tomorrow's general offensive against Marie Joy's. In addition to the dragons, there were also red-haired shanks from the 4 emperors of the pirate, Kaido, and Straw Hat Boys. There are kings and leaders from all over the world, and so on. These are the representatives of the big forces, and there are some lone rangers. The number of people in the meeting alone has reached dozens. Although the dragon is the leader of the coalition this time, not everyone listens to him, such as the beast Kaido and others. They do not look at the dragon at all. The reason why they can gather together is only because everyone's goals are the same. Kill the strongest world government, and talk about the others later. It's just that most of the leaders of the coalition have arrived this time, and only the Marshal of Naval Headquarters, Akainu, did not show up. That's why someone would ask this question. Akainu is Marshal Marine. It is obviously the world government that he betrayed first. As a result, he pretends to be a good person. Does he disdain us as a team? For Akainu, many people have no liking, because there are many people here who have suffered from Akainu's loss, and this time Akainu took the lead to fire the first shot. Without Marine's rebellion, it would be impossible to have the current grand occasion. After all, Akainu used to be the running dog of the world government. If he does come, I would not worry. Therefore, it is best if he does not come. This time the world government is doomed. As long as his brain is not bad, he will not follow us at this time. Right. There are also people who don't put Akainu in their eyes. Now they have hit Marie Joyce. They are all ambitious. They don't care if there is Marine or not. They are enough to destroy the world government anyway. Even some people have already begun to calculate the gains and losses after destroying the world government. Why are they working so hard to get here? The so-called justice, shit, they are all for their own interests. Since the 20 kings of 800 years ago were able to establish the world government, they may not be unable to do so now. As long as the world government is destroyed, they can take the place of the world government. When a new regime is established, they will all be masters. This is the reason why they are fighting for it. Of course, a few people like Long, they know why Akainu didn't show up, and disdain to be with him is indeed one of them. The most important thing is that they don't know what Akainu's idea is, and they can't figure out Akainu's routine. But no matter what Akainu means now, it is not important to the dragon. He is confident now. He used to hide like a mouse because of lack of power, but now they have enough power to gather most of the world. He felt that the problem of eliminating the world government should not be big, and the demand for Akainu is no longer so urgent. Everyone, it is not the time to relax. Although we have hit Marie Joyce is a holy land operated by the world government for 800 years. We don't know the specifics inside, but it is certain that their strongest power must be its Marie Joyce, so we can't be careless. Long said in a deep voice. Leader Long is right. At this time, we must not be careless. The world government retreated while fighting and returned to Marie Joyce. Perhaps it was because of helplessness, but it was also because they were full of confidence in this place, so we must be more careful. Many people are attached to the dragon. The people who can sit here are smart people. They may be stimulated by a temporary victory, but at the last moment, they can still restrain their emotions. But there are some people who are not so wise, but these people just muttered privately, but did not speak publicly. At this time, Shanks said, according to my information, the world government still has a lot of hole cards, such as the legendary ancient weapon. It is likely that the master is in their hands. Ancient weapon has the power to destroy the world, so we must be cautious. Also, I want to state in advance that this time we are to overthrow the world government, not a massacre, so I hope you will only punish the first evil and try to avoid mass killings. Ha ha ha, Redhead, you are still so naive now. There is not a single innocent person on Marie Joyce, so you should kill all of them. Kaido yelled fiercely. Looking at Shanks and Kaido, many people secretly showed disdain. Perhaps the two of them are very powerful, but in many people's eyes, the pirates are pirates after all and can't get on the stage. If they don't need their power now, they will not cooperate with the pirates. Long knew the hostility of the people present, but he didn't take it to heart. Everyone was not the same person, but gathered together for a common goal. Everyone was using each other as long as they could to defeat the world government, nothing else matters. Everyone. Long opened his mouth to attract everyone's attention, and then he said, Redline, Marie Joyce is right in front of you. I believe everyone is ready, but the world government has not finished yet. They still have the power to fight, so I don't care about you. If there is any contradiction, before destroying the world government, I hope everyone can abandon the previous suspicions and unanimously externally. Otherwise, if we have internal strife at this time, it will only make the world government cheaper. Listening to the dragon's words, everyone present did not refute. Even irritable people like Kaido were quiet. Although Kaido was mad, he was not stupid. There are many people here who are no worse than him. If he really makes trouble, he won't take any advantage at all. Well, since everyone agrees with me, then we will discuss how to fight tomorrow's war. Speaking of business affairs, the faces of the people present became solemn. The world government has dominated the world for 800 years. Although they have a great opportunity to pull the world government off the horse, they are still very jealous. Long sits in command, because he has been to Marie Joy's and has fought with the world government for many years. He still knows the situation of the world government well and knows what methods to use to deal with the world government. Therefore, he is still very sure about the formation of troops. The others also agreed with the dragon's arrangement, so they quickly negotiated the route of entry, and waited for a decisive battle with the world government tomorrow. A group of people discussed for more than 2 hours before finally dispersing. When they left, most of them were happy. Obviously they were full of confidence in tomorrow's war, and they were already thinking about the post-war distribution. Long returned to his residence, and as soon as he entered the door, he found that there were still 2 people inside, and his expression changed. You have already discussed with those people, to launch the general offensive tomorrow? Garp sat there with a gloomy look, and asked the dragon coldly. Since the end of the Top War, Garp has resigned from his position and returned to East Blue without asking the world. Until recently, Marine declared independence. He immediately realized that something big was about to happen and contacted his men in the headquarters. Learned what happened at naval headquarters. Especially after knowing that Sengoku and others were imprisoned by Akainu, they were even more shocked. They wanted to go to naval headquarters to rescue Sengoku and others. But at that time, naval headquarters was solid, and even he could not sneak in easily. Later, the Crane of Marine's staff contacted him, told him not to act rashly, and told Sengoku and others that it was not a serious problem, that he gave up sneaking into naval headquarters to save people. Immediately afterwards, a sensational war broke out. Countless forces rose up against the world government, led by the Revolutionary Army. This made him immediately realize that something bad was about to happen, so he immediately changed his direction and looked for the Revolutionary Army. Find the direction. He has been behind the Revolutionary Army for a long time and stayed by Long's side, but he never showed up. At the beginning, he wanted to persuade his son, but Long didn't listen to him at all. Now, reactionary the power has come to an end, the world government is declining, and its destruction is imminent, so he can no longer persuade it. Well, the general attack will be launched tomorrow. Long nodded, and then looked at the boy next to Garp. This boy is naturally the Straw Hat Boy Luffy. Don't look at Luffy, he is still young, but now he is the Pirate Emperor of New World. Naturally, Luffy and Long had seen each other a long time ago, and they were familiar with each other, so they stayed here with Garp. Garp said in a deep voice, the world government is not as simple as you think. 5 elders are not easy to deal with, and there are even more powerful people behind them. Even if I have never seen them, they can make 5 elders bow their heads, absolutely not. Normal person. Long said. I know, Akainu told me that he said that there is another person behind 5 elders, the king of celestial dragons, called I Am. In fact, even if he doesn't say it, I have found clues. What I cannot be sure about now is this: just how good I Am is and how much he can play in this war is the greatest instability. Sakazuki didn't come this time? Garp asked. Yes, he didn't come, but this is what I expected. Garp snorted coldly, you look down on Sakazuki too much. Do you think he is just what he shows on the surface? I tell you, in your so-called coalition forces, even if you and the redheads add up, they don't. He must be comparable to Sakazuki alone. He is more terrifying than you think. This time he didn't come. Do you know his purpose? He has been a marine for decades and has traveled across the sea for decades. Although he is known for his power, he is actually very shrewd and sees farther than the average person. What Akainu has done so far, even he can't through. Long Dao. I know what his idea is, just want to fight with snipes and clams, and the fishermen will benefit. He wants to use us to deal with the world government, and then he will finally stand up to collect the victory. He thinks beautifully, but I will never let him get what he wants. Akainu is the culprit who killed Ace. I must defeat him personally. Luffy, who had not spoken, suddenly yelled in excitement. He hasn't forgotten Ace's death so far. He always wanted revenge in his heart, but there was no chance. Humph. Garp snorted disdainfully. Do you think you have seen him through? I admit that your experience in the past few decades is very rich, but you still underestimated Sakazuki. He is the Marine Marshal and knows more about the world government than you. It is not luck that Marine can block the offensive of the world government. If you underestimate him, you must be the one who suffers in the end. Forget it, I don't bother to care about you messy things. As he said, Garp waved his hand suddenly, and then said solemnly, I don't care about the other things, but my old buddies are confined by Sakazuki. No matter what happens afterwards, I will rescue them. Don't worry, old man, I will definitely let you get what you want, Long said confidently. Garp sighed, Dragon, Luffy, both of you didn't follow my arrangements, but I will tell you at last that your enemies this time are really beyond your imagination. I hope you stay vigilant. Don't fall short. Both the son and grandson have their own thoughts, and he can't change it, so he can only try his best to persuade them to be more cautious. When the dragons gathered for a meeting of the coalition forces, in a sea area not very far away from them, around an isolated island, dozens of marine warships gathered at this time. This is the army of marine crusades against the world government. It's just that Marine didn't join the coalition forces, but hid here alone. Marshal Sakazuki, why don't we attack Marie Joyce with the coalition forces, but stationed here? In addition to Marine's army, there is also the Derma 66 army from North Blue. With the support of Akainu, the kingdom of Derma has been restored and has become the king of North Blue again. This makes Vinsmoke Judge even better. It is ambitious, ready to make contributions in this war against the world government, and bring the Vinsmoke family to a more glorious height. It's just that he is not familiar with those in the coalition forces, and because of the changes in North Blue, the whole world knows that their kingdom of Derma has taken refuge in Marine, and he also trusts Akainu more, so he chose to join Akainu, not joining with the coalition army. It's just that although he made a choice, he still feels a little puzzled, and he doesn't understand why Akainu acted alone. Akainu glanced at him faintly and asked, "Do you think that when you go to the coalition forces, they will look at you and me differently? Don't forget, Marine belongs to the world government. Although it was rebellious in my hands, it was at the last moment. Do you think they will trust us?" Before Judge could answer, Akainu said coldly, "No, they will never trust us, including dragons. He just wants to use our power. Now he has an allied force, and our existence lies in him. Saying is dispensable, and you will not trust us even more. Why do you think they crusade Marie Joyce? Huh, it's not all for profit." He snorted very disdainfully. For the so-called coalition forces, he only felt disgusted. The coalition forces were no more noble than those in the world government. They wanted to overthrow the world government. They just wanted to replace it. If they succeed, it won't be long before they will become the next world government, and they may even be as good as they are. Then what shall we do? We can't do nothing, and no matter which side wins, it will not be good for us. Judge's political thinking is not as high as Akainu's. Even after listening to Akainu's explanation, he still can't make a guess about the next step. Don't worry. Even if the coalition is on Marie Joyce, they will not necessarily be their opponents. Do you really think that celestial dragons are all waste? If they don't have enough power, how could they be the master world government for 800 years? Although I don't know how deep the celestial dragon's clan is, Akainu still has to be vigilant and predict the most dangerous situation. If it's him, he will never attack Marie Joyce rashly. Now that there are coalition forces to find the way for him, why not he? Do you want to reap the benefits of the fisherman? Judge asked with a serious face. Akainu waved his hand and said, "Don't say it so ugly. This is a strategy, and neither of them are so stupid. The fisherman's profit is not so easy to collect. I just want to find the most appropriate time to make a move." Judge thought for a while and said, "Well, since you are so confident, then I will follow your instructions. I will do what you ask me to do." He has already seen the benefits of following Akainu, the original crusade against 4 emperors Big Mom, and the later restoration of the country, all because of Akainu. Without Akainu, their Germa kingdom would definitely not have the current situation. The next day, with the sound of the coalition's offensive horn, this huge battle that will determine the future of the world officially kicked off. If the battle on the top 2 years ago established the direction of the world, then today's battle that has swept the world's major forces is a truly monstrous battle. No matter which side wins, the world will change drastically. For ordinary people, they don't know very well about this war, but for those forces and people with a little bit of strength, their eyes are fixed on this huge battle that cannot be broadcast live. Sabaody Archipelago. Shaki hung up the phone worm and said to Rayleigh, who was drinking, "It's already started over there." Rayleigh took a sip and sighed, "I really didn't expect that things would develop to where they are today. I thought that something would change after the World Summit. Who knew that something happened one after another, and it ended up like this? I don't know what the result will be. I just hope they don't break the world down." Although he has not participated in a war of this level, he knows very well that if this battle is uncontrollable, I am afraid that it can really crash the Red Line, which is several times more intense than the original battle on the top. The battle at the top was only a battle between Marine and the Whitebeard pirates, one of the 4 emperors, but even so, Marineford was destroyed. Now the coalition forces and the world government are fighting each other, and their fighting power is compared to the battle at the top. Together, the two sides are many times stronger, not to mention that the two sides are also masters of the terrifying ancient weapon. Once the fight reaches the end, both sides have red eyes, and desperately, the world may really be beaten and collapsed. At that time, not only both sides will suffer heavy losses, but even the people of the world will suffer huge harm. All of this is not done by the Akainu. That guy is indeed a lunatic. Fortunately, we didn't turn our face with him, otherwise we really couldn't fight him. Even the unruly big pirate like Shaki, looking back at this time, he still has lingering fears. In his opinion, Akainu is too terrifying, even more crazy than a lunatic. This huge battle can be said to be 50%. It was from him. Rayleigh said, "That kid really exceeded everyone's expectations. I thought that Luffy's father was the only one who could fight the world government. Now it seems that although the dragon's momentum is booming, he may have fallen into Akainu's calculations. What is even more frightening is that if you let him master the world, I don't know what the future will become." Shaki asked in surprise. "You are more optimistic about that guy. Haven't you always been optimistic about Monkey and his son?" Times have changed. Who could have imagined that Akainu, who used to be just a violent marine admiral, had such a deep city and controlled most of the world's marine without a word, and it also attracted the crowds to attack Marie Joyce. It feels that all of this is his action behind the scenes, otherwise it can't be such a coincidence. Forget it. What do you think about so much? Anyway, it has nothing to do with us. Who wins and who loses, as long as we don't get ahead, no one can find us. At our age, it has been a few years to live well, this kind of annoyance. It's better to leave it to others to worry about." With a faint sigh, Rayleigh closed his eyes and started to sleep. Kill. On the Red Line, Marie Joyce, which has been a pure land for hundreds of years, is full of killings at this time. Just before dawn this morning, the coalition forces headed by the Revolutionary Army had already launched an offensive. After they landed on the Red Line, they marched quickly all the way to the vicinity of Marie Joyce, which took less than 3 hours. The world government didn't know if it was really unstoppable, or if it retreated strategically, and retreated. After retreating to the vicinity of Marie Joyce, it immediately launched a frantic counterattack. Up to now, the two sides have reached 5 hours. Mariajoy was hit in the first 3 hours, but in the remaining 2 hours, the coalition forces were not allowed to advance. The world government's army was too tough. What should we do now? Long and other coalition leaders did not participate in the battle. They were in the rear, staring at the battlefield all the time. After seeing the unfavorable situation of the battle, many people were anxious about it. If this continues, it will be very detrimental to us. They are guarding Marie Joyce, with complete armaments and complete food and grass. If we can't attack for a long time, our hearts will fall apart, it will probably fall short. There are many visionaries among these big bosses. Fighting like this is really detrimental to the coalition forces. The world government is up and down Ishin, while the coalition forces are integrated with multiple forces, and the hearts of the people are complicated. It is very likely that the powerful coalition will quickly collapse. The face of the dragon remained unchanged. This situation was already in his expectation. If the world government was so easily destroyed, how could it have stood the world for 800 years? He did not speak, but was waiting. As an ambitious person, overthrowing the world government is his biggest goal. Now this goal is very close. Of course he has to consider the next step. His revolutionary army is considered the most powerful force in the coalition, but there are also many forces. Not much weaker than him, such as the Beast Kaido, such as those few hidden big family forces. Therefore, at this time, he wants to preserve his strength. Only after the war can his strength be strong enough to have a great right to speak, so he doesn't want to consume the strength of his revolutionary army excessively at this time. But he also knew that if he didn't do anything now, it would attract other people's dissatisfaction, so he took the lead in speaking. I have sent Betty to the front line. He is Paramisha's fruit-inspiring ability. Her participation will definitely increase the morale of the coalition forces. Bello Beatty is a revolutionary, East Army. Paramecia is a person who inspires fruit abilities. She may not be super strong in her own right, but in large-scale wars, the power she can exert is countless times stronger than her personal strength. Hearing what the dragon said, the other forces were also preparing to increase their offensive efforts. It's a waste of time to see you guys chirping here. Lousy doesn't have time to waste with you. At this moment, the thunderous roar exploded, and Kaido suddenly stood up, the burly body like a hill, putting tremendous pressure on people. Then, regardless of what other people thought, he rushed directly into the battlefield with his own troops. With the addition of Kaido, the allied forces' offensive became extremely fast. 5 elders, the offensive of the rebels is too fierce, and the front lines are about to be overwhelmed. The palace that originally belonged to the 5 elders has already gathered a large group of people. In addition to the 5 elders, the leaders of the celestial dragons have also come here. This war is related to the fate of the celestial dragons. Anyone should be nervous. What? Why can't you stop it? Before the 5 elders spoke, one of the middle-aged celestial dragons couldn't wait to roar. His face was full of anger, and he went up to tear up the soldier who had come to report. Enough. At this time, an elderly celestial dragon blasted angrily, then looked at 5 elders and said, 5 elders, Lord Yim has handed over the command of the war to you. In this case, how are you going to deal with this situation? Although the world government is the world government of celestial dragons, these people do not have much power after all. They usually focus on enjoyment. This level of war is not at all they can control, so Yim will give power to 5 elders. Although some celestial dragons are dissatisfied with this, they dare not say anything. The old star with white curly hair said coldly, "This group of rebels are really capable, but they must not be allowed to fight Marie Joyce. He must be blocked outside. Go. Let the rest of the army be ready to join the battle. And let the people from CP0 join the battle." CP0 is the strongest spy agency of the world government. In the past, the master was in the hands of celestial dragons and served celestial dragons. However, at this moment, celestial dragons and world government have no distinction between each other, so 5 elders can also directly order CP0. Let the people of CP0 assassinate the leader of the coalition forces, and make sure the coalition forces panic. At this point, the two sides are not only competing for the military, but also for high-end combat power. CP0 are all elites, especially good at assassinations. Let them take advantage of the chaotic situation to assassinate the high-end generals of the coalition, which will definitely be meaningful. Unexpected effect. Pacifists should also show up. The pacifist is a human weapon invented by Vegapunk. It has always been controlled by the world government. It played an amazing role in the war on the top. Although Marine has rebelled and the world government cannot control Vegapunk, many of Vegapunk's scientific and technological achievements are still in the hands of the world government. The pacifists are one of them. The number is very large enough to resist some coalition troops. The bald-headed sword-holding old star suddenly stood up and said, "It's time for us to leave." As the ruler of the world government, 5 elders not only has the highest right to speak, but also has amazing strength, but they did not need to act in the past. But at this time, their old bones can't sit idly by. Only if the coalition forces are defeated can they continue to survive. Although the other old stars did not speak, they all stood up. No matter how strong the coalition forces were, they were fearless. Not long after 5 elders issued the order, a large number of support troops from the world government surged up again. The coalition forces that had just gained the upper hand had not advanced much before they were forced back by the world government's troops. Even if the leaders of the various armies fought desperately, the world government's background was too strong, and one after another strong men emerged to block the coalition forces. Even a pirate emperor as strong as Kaido of the Beasts was besieged by a few strong men who had never seen him before, and it was difficult to get out for a while. The war, once again caught in anxiety. The powerhouses of the world government have all appeared, and our people have all been assassinated. CP0 is indeed powerful. In this chaotic situation, the continuous assassination of the leaders of the coalition forces has caused the coalition forces to be in chaos. If it is not because the number of coalition forces is too large, CP0 alone is enough to make them suffer. The leaders of the coalition army were very upset and scolded. This time, in order to defeat the world government, they took out all the strength at the bottom of the box, so if they lose too much, they will be weak afterwards. Long said decisively, "There is nothing to hesitate. We should also participate in the war. At this time, only the highest end forces can completely determine the outcome of this war. Yes, we should also shoot. All major forces have strong ones, and they didn't appear before, just because there was no need, but now at this time, it has reached the end, and when it comes to the decisive battle, naturally there is no need to hide. Dad, I want to shoot too." At this time, the Straw Hat Pirates came over under the leadership of Luffy. Because of the dragon, Luffy's Straw Hat Pirates did not participate in the battle. Luffy, who could not wait for a long time, finally found the opportunity. Shanks. Luffy was even more happy to see Shanks not far away. He and Shanks had already met, but after the coalition forces gathered, they had no chance to meet again. Now seeing Shanks, he is of course very happy. Luffy. Shanks was also very happy, but he still said solemnly, "Luffy, this war is different from the battles you have experienced in the past. It is 10 times more dangerous and 100 times more dangerous. If you want to participate in the war, you must be more cautious." Although Luffy has participated in the Battle of the Top, the Battle of the Top is definitely not comparable to the current war. This is the force deployed by the entire army of the world government, which is countless times stronger than the Marine who topped the war. Although Luffy is not what he used to be, he is still far from the peak. In such a battlefield, it is also full of crises. You don't need to worry about his affairs as a pirate. It's just that Shanks's kindness could not be forgiven. I saw Garp slowly walk over, staring at Shanks very uncomfortably. Shanks smiled bitterly. He knew why Garp looked at him upset, but what could he say? "Why did you come out?" Long asked his father. "Humph." Garp snorted, "It's already this time, so what are you doing? This little bastard has to go to war. What else can Lousy do? Isn't it possible to let the only grandson die on the battlefield?" He now has no choice but to go completely to the black. His son is a revolutionary army, and his grandson is a pirate, and they are both attacking Marie Joyce. Marine is also turned upside down. He doesn't know who he is now. But at this time, I can't care about other things. Nothing is as important as the grandson's arrival. He wants to escort the grandson. Long couldn't refute, he could stun anyone, but his father, he couldn't stun him. You stay behind and leave this bastard Luffy to me. Garp gave an exhortation, and then Luffy rushed to the front with a hurried Luffy. After everyone else had left, Shanks said to the dragon solemnly, "This war may be the last time. As the leader of the coalition army, it is your responsibility to command the rear. As for the battle ahead, leave it to us." Long looked at Shanks seriously, and finally nodded solemnly. "Okay." Shanks returned to the Red Hair Pirates camp. The members of Red Hair Pirates had not participated in the battle before, and now that their captain is coming, they all know what to do next. "Captain, have we played yet? After holding back for so long, is it finally time for our pirate group to take action? I can't help it for a long time, now the timing is just right. Captain, give orders." Looking at the angry crew members, Shanks sighed in his heart, but his expression became extremely solemn. Everyone has seen the situation today. Since participating in this war, it is absolutely impossible to shrink back. The tyranny of the world government has made the sea chaotic. Although we are pirates, we are also adventurers. We are equally important, so this war must be won. Everyone is a brother who has been following for many years, so I won't say more if you want to follow me. If you are willing to follow me, just go with me. Don't seek fame or fortune, just ask for a clear conscience. Roar. Shanks did not say anything awe-inspiring, but the crew of Red Hair Pirates still shouted excitedly, using this to express their support for their captain. Kill. With a roar, Red Hair Pirates, one of the 4 emperors of the pirates, officially took part in the war. As soon as the major leaders of the coalition joined the war, they immediately brought the situation back a bit. The army of the world government began to show signs of decline. At the end of the war, the high-end combat power determines the victory. At this time, the high ends of both sides' combat power has already begun to seep into the battlefield. It's time for us to shoot, are you all ready? 5 elders stood on the top of Marie Joyce, watching the battle below, and the bald old star with a sword slowly spoke. "Why do you still say so much?" The blonde old star roared and rushed directly to the battlefield without saying anything. The other 4 old stars followed closely behind. 5 elders, have they also participated in the war? Has this war really come to life and death? An elderly celestial dragons looked at the 5 elders who were playing, and there was nostalgia in his eyes. He and 5 elders are almost the same era, but he is celestial dragons and does not need to rely on strength, but even he knows the strength of 5 elders is extraordinary. This is our territory, and Lord Yim is there. No matter how strong these rebels are, they cannot be our opponents. We will always rule the world because we are the gods of this world. In the gathering place of celestial dragons, some celestial dragons are panic, some are worried, but some are crazy. These people claim to be gods and don't put the coalition forces in their eyes. At this time, they firmly believe that they can wipe out this group. Coalition forces. Yes, we are the gods in the sky. How can those mortals be able to touch it? God is impossible to defeat. Our clan still has the ultimate weapon. We don't need to be afraid of this group of rebels at all. We must kill them to death. This world should have been cleansed long ago, and anyone who opposes us deserves to die. We must kill them all, turn them all into slaves, and let people's children and grandchildren be our slaves forever, haha. Clang. The 2 soldiers collided and produced amazing strength. The soldiers in the surrounding range of tens of meters were all lifted by the huge force. Red-haired, someone like you will go into chaos with this group of rebels. The sword-wielding old star used his blood knife to confront Shanks' western sword. His knife was bloody and very strange. This is the first-generation ghost, one of the legendary supreme knives. Shanks responded indifferently. I have no ambitions, but since so many people in the world oppose you, it means that you have completely lost their hearts. I don't care about the future. But now, only by overthrowing you can a new regime be established. Huh, wishful thinking. The old star holding the sword forced Shanks back, and he kept colliding with Shanks at a speed that was incompatible with his age. It is hard to imagine that this old star who has been in charge of the world government for many years has not fallen into a disadvantage at all in the face of a confrontation. Clang clang clang. The constant collision of 2 sharp knives represents the confrontation between the 2 standing on the top of the sea. 5 elders is standing on the top of the world government and has ruled the world for decades, while Shanks is the emperor of the pirates, who has crossed the sea for 20 years. People are standing on the pinnacle of their respective forces. With the 2 of them as the center, no one dared to join them for hundreds of meters. In addition to the old star holding the sword, the other 4 old stars also found their own opponents. The beast Kaido played against the golden old star, and the leaders of the other 2 coalition forces also fought the 2 old stars. It has to be said that the world government has ruled the world for 800 years, during which no one or force can overthrow them, but this does not mean that other forces have no strong ones. On the contrary, there are many strong ones among the major forces. However, these people usually do not show their mountains and only appear at critical times, just like now. Straw Hat Kid. Today's Straw Hat Boy is also a world-famous big man. He was added to the Pirate Emperor sequence. After seeing Luffy, the remaining bald old star killed him angrily. Much of the credit for the formation of the Allied forces this time came from the Revolutionary Army Dragon. 5 elders had a hunch before that if anyone in the world could pose a threat to them, the Revolutionary Army Dragon would definitely rank first. The facts are similar to what they thought. The team pulled up by the dragon has now attacked them. This is the first time in 800 years that someone has been able to hit Marie Joyce and poses such a big threat to them. Luffy didn't know any 5 elders. He saw an old man killing him. He didn't hesitate. He raised his fist and smashed it. He is already very strong now, even if it's not as good as Shanks and Kaido, the Pirate Emperor, but much stronger than the average pirate. But what made him incredible was that when his fist collided with the fist of the bald old star, he was smashed into the air by a huge force, and he rolled over tens of meters before stopping. Why is this old man so powerful? With this fist, Luffy was dizzy and looked at the bald old star incredibly. The opponent was obviously an old man. How might he be stronger than him? Dragon's son must die. The bald veteran gained power and rushed over again, and Luffy tried his best, but the power he was proud of in the past was completely ineffective at this moment, and he was crushed and beaten by the bald veteran. When the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates saw this scene, they all eagerly wanted to come and support, but they couldn't get close at all, because the bald old star was too fierce, and the strongest among them, Zoro and Sanji, were dragged. Live, the others couldn't do anything at all. They could only watch Luffy being abused. Puff. Luffy was blasted back by the bald old star again, and a mouthful of blood spewed out. The bald old star struck again and saw that he was about to be hit. At this moment, a huge fist blasted from the side. Boom. The 2 fists collided and made an astonishing roar, and countless cracks appeared on the ground under this fist. Gar, it turned out to be you. Do you want to betray us? When the bald old star saw the person stopping him, he became even more angry and pointed at Garp and cursed. The guilt on Garp's face flashed. I have not betrayed. I have always followed my own justice. I am a member of Marine, and now Marine is no longer affiliated with the world government, so I don't betrayed. The bald old star shouted angrily. Gar, I didn't expect even you to become so eloquent, but no matter what you say, you are traitors. In this battle, you traitors will be cleaned up, and the world will be cleaned up. Wash thoroughly. Garp's eyes were shocked. Unlike the others, he could naturally understand the meaning of the bald old star's words. The cleansing the other party said was definitely not a simple cleansing. They even wanted to clean the entire world. This is where he was shocked. You are really crazy. From this point of view, you must never be allowed to continue doing such nonsense. Thinking of the consequences of the Great Purge, he shuddered. Hundreds of millions of people would die in this turmoil by then. He didn't really want to participate in this war, but now he hears these words in his heart. Be firm immediately. He is not for himself, not for his loved ones, even for those innocent people. He must do his best. You will never succeed, and I will not let you succeed. While roaring, Garp no longer kept his hand, and took the initiative to attack the bald old star. The golden veteran is not in the same class as Kaido, but after fighting, it turns out that the size does not represent strength, and the golden veteran is not inferior to Kaido at all. Unexpectedly, a failed experiment of yours would grow to such a point. Today, you will correct your previous mistakes, except for your failed experiment. I am afraid that no one would have imagined that Kaido, the great pirate beast that has been in New World for decades, was once the experiment product of world government. This was a matter of more than 50 years ago. Kaido was originally just a human with the blood of giants. It was caught by the world government and became the experimental object of a secret experiment. But who would think that an accident occurred during the experiment, so that Kaido gained strong strength and killed all the experimenting scientists, escaped the control of the world government. Because Kaido has the secret data needed by the world government did not give up searching at the beginning, but later Kaido joined Rock's Pirate, and later, the reputation became stronger and stronger. Later, Marine caught Kaido several times, but was unable to kill it. Instead, he escaped again and again. From then on, 5 elders knew that unless Kaido was stupid, it would not be easy to kill Kaido. Another hour has passed. Even the 5 elders of the world government have already fought, and all the masters have come out. But this time they are besieged by the major forces from all over the world. The momentum is really too powerful, even if the 5 elders and other strong players are fighting hard. After doing his best, he still couldn't stop the impact of the coalition forces at the back. The defense line of the world government was getting back and forth. Soon, the forces of the coalition rushed to Marie Joy's, the holy land of the world government for 800 years. This is the first time that so many outsiders have attacked. The coalition forces say that it is the coalition army that sounds better. In fact, it is an army united by a large group of forces. After rushing to Marie Joy's, many soldiers were fascinated by the magnificent Marie Joy's. They stopped observing orders and began to go around Marie Joy's. Plunder, the entire Marie Joy's instantly changed from heaven to hell. Long came up from behind and saw the chaotic Marie Joy's. His face was also very gloomy. He never thought that after seeing the prosperous Marie Joy's, the fierce coalition soldiers would become so unbearable. However, although his face was not good, he didn't say anything, because these soldiers were not his people. He knew that even if he went to talk to other forces, the other party would at most superficially agree, and would not really obey them at all. It's all a bunch of bastards, and you can't bypass them after everything is done. He made a secret decision in his heart. He sighed and looked at Marie Joy's in front of him. Although this was not the first time he had boarded Marie Joy's, his mood was different before and now. Before, Marie Joy's could only sneak in secretly, but this time, he was playing with integrity. Come up. The nobles of Marie Joy's have fallen for 8 lifetimes of blood mold. Except for celestial dragons, which returned to the safest place in horror. The rest of the nobles had never thought that the coalition would hit Marie Joy's. There was no time to pack anything, or even their lives. Fleeing, they were beaten in by coalition soldiers. Burning, killing and looting, these nobles, who used to only bully civilians and slaves, are now full of ugliness in order to survive, but even so, the coalition forces did not let them go, and basically killed them when they saw it. CP0's agents were all dispatched, together with other armies, and 5 elders and others. From the beginning, they were evenly matched, and now they have been defeated. Although the coalition has an advantage, they actually suffered more losses. They are crowded and powerful, much better than the world government that has been driven to desperation. At this moment, in the important palace of Marie Joy's, a large group of celestial dragons, who used to be high in the past, rushed here in horror. Don't look at the number of celestial dragons, but this palace is huge, so many people enter the palace, there is not even the slightest crowd. Lord Yim, help, Lord Yim, help, that group of rebels has rushed up. Countless horrified shouts sounded, as the leader of the celestial dragons clan, Yim above the throne had a calm expression. What is the style of being noisy? Listening to the quarrel below, Yim frowned impatiently and sneered coldly. His voice seemed to have a huge power, and the people who were still chatter quickly became quiet. Look at what you are now, how is it different from those untouchables outside? Suddenly Yim stood up from the throne and looked at the celestial dragons of his clan below, with disdain in his eyes. For 800 years, both the world and the celestial dragons, the descendants of the former 20 kings, have been under his control. Hundreds of years have passed, the years have changed, and the situation has changed. The only thing that has not changed is him. He is the only one in this world, the true God. Master Yim, but the rebels have already fought, and even 5 elders can't stop them. What should we do? Even the major patriarchs of celestial dragons are all anxious at this time. They are different from Yim and cannot live forever. I don't know how strong the background behind them is, so they are very frightened. Yim said lightly. I have anticipated the scenes of this day. Since they can't stop him, let them send them to the door by themselves. Do you think that if they don't have my consent, they can mark Marie Joy's? The celestial dragons underneath were stunned. Master Yim, listen to you. Everything is in the master. No matter how many ants there are, they can't bite the elephant. I am the only true God in this world, and no one can escape my control. The light fell on Im's face, reflecting his appearance. This man who has ruled the world for 800 years turned out to be a middle-aged face, and he was also very handsome, sharp and angular, and his eyes looked like the eagle falcon is as sharp as the pupil of the world's largest swordsman Eagle Eye. After so many years of calm, after all, at this time, I can suppress the world for 800 years, and I can continue to suppress it for 800 years. A mob, no one wants to live without my permission. After speaking, he instantly rose into the sky under the horrified gaze of all celestial dragons. After such a long fight, Marie Joy's has fallen into complete chaos. The coalition forces are chasing and killing the world government troops everywhere, and the strong people of the world government are all chased and killed by the strong people of the coalition. Except for a few people, the rest are fighting. A strong man like 5 elders has already killed one person. That is the bald old star. He was first injured by Garp and then besieged by many strong men of the revolutionary army. He hated Marie Joy's. The remaining 4 veterans were all wounded, including CP0 agents. A large group of people gathered together to cover each other and besiege the powerful coalition forces. No one thought that the world government, which had suppressed the world for 800 years, would eventually fall to this point. Even 5 elders still failed miserably. Mariajoy also collapsed more than half of the fight. If it weren't for the coalition's fear of 5 in the final counterattack of elders and other strong players, I am afraid that people like 5 elders will suffer even more serious damage. In fact, with the power of the world government, it shouldn't have been so miserable. The culprit was not the coalition forces, but the Marine Marshal Akainu. It is the chain reaction caused by Akainu's rebellion with Marine. Marine is the strongest military force under the world government. When the whole army is dispatched, it is definitely stronger than the 2 pirate 4 emperors, but it is such a powerful military force. Not only that, but in order to strangle Akainu and others, the world government suffered heavy losses. Otherwise, if Marine's power and those forces that have not been lost are added, the coalition forces will not be able to hit Marie Joyce at all, and even 5 elders and others can block the coalition forces without taking action. But there are not so many ifs in the world. This is the current situation, and the world government has reached a desperate situation. 5 elders, your era is over, and the destruction of the world government is imminent. It's time for you to abandon the dark and turn to the bright. The battle has stopped for a while, and the dragon appeared in front of 5 elders and others as a victor for the first time. The white curly-haired old star coldly snorted. Abandoning the dark and throwing the light. It's really funny. If it wasn't because of our internal problems, the traitor Akainu rebelled. Do you think you can attack Marie Joyce with your waist? The dragon's expression remained unchanged. What you said makes sense, but so what? Now it is like this. No matter how stubbornly you resist, it won't make any difference. Why not solve the problem peacefully with us, let go of it, and accept the reality? Reality. The remaining old stars and powerful officials of the world government all sneered disdainfully. They are all important members of the world government and would not believe the dragon's nonsense at all. If the world government is there, they will be there. Nothing, they are left with death, and there will be no second ending at all. Dragon, you are still talking nonsense to them and kill them directly, which adds to the treasures of the world government. Seeing Dragon talking nonsense with 5 elders and others, and some people who could not wait, immediately yelled eagerly. At this point, the major forces don't have much respect for the so-called dragon, the so-called leader. In their opinion, Marie Joyce has been defeated, and the high levels of the world government have almost gathered here, and they are directly killed. Why so much nonsense? The dragon's face was dark, and he said coldly, "Do you think we have won? So far, have you seen a celestial dragons? Do you really think that the world government will not have a whole card?" He was very angry. He knew that these people could not be trusted, but he didn't expect anyone to be so stupid. Mariajoy is the nest of celestial dragons. As a result, one celestial dragons hasn't seen it now. Isn't it possible that there is no problem at all? Haha. You may be able to defeat us, but Lord Yim will appear soon. Although 5 elders and others faced death threats, none of them showed fear. Instead, they looked at the allied forces coldly. They knew the strength of Lord Yim. Although these allied forces were strong, in front of Lord Yim, there is only a dead end. Really stubborn. Originally, Long didn't plan to keep them alive, but just wanted to get some information from them. Since these people were ignorant, he was not going to block others. Without the obstacle of the dragon, many people showed their excitement. They were all high-ranking officials of the world government, especially 5 elders, who possessed the most noble status in the world. Killing them would surely be able to kill them in one fell swoop. Fame. Boom. A meteor suddenly appeared in the sky, smashed down, and a huge smoke was set off. The ground shook violently, and even the entire Marie Joyce shook. Countless people fell to the ground because of this huge shock, even if it was a group of dragons and others. The strong powerhouse also swayed a few times along with it. Under the shock, countless people died tragically. All the coalition forces' complexion changed drastically, and they looked forward in shock. Master Yim. Unlike those in the coalition army, the remnants of the world government all showed excitement and cheered neatly and respectfully when they saw this scene. As for the coalition forces, after hearing the cheers of the other side, their expressions changed drastically. They looked at the man gradually emerging from the smoke in amazement. Before they attacked Marie Joyce, they knew that the man behind the world government was called Yim. It has never appeared, so they take it lightly. Now this EIM suddenly appeared, and the moment it appeared, it caused such a huge movement that it could not be inferred by common sense. Is he the biggest backstage behind world government? When everyone saw Eam's appearance, they all unconsciously produced an inexplicable heaviness in their hearts. After EIM appeared, he glanced at the remaining world government and others, then turned his eyes to those of the coalition forces. It's you waiting for the chicken and dog to overthrow the rule of our god clan? The cold tone caused many people in the coalition forces to shake their bodies. A simple sentence and a scornful look made many people speechless. Master Yim, you finally appeared. Unlike the others, the dragon stared at Yim calmly. This result was already in his expectation. Im looked at the dragon and slowly said, Monkey D. Dragon, you have finally come to this point. You didn't know how to cherish the forgiveness you gave to your D family in the past, but you still have such a result. It's a pity. Pity. Humph. Long Lang said, don't pretend to be a good person. I know who you are. Even if you live for hundreds of years, you still have to lose today. In the past, you used despicable means to seize the world. Today is what you paid for. When? Yim's face was plain. The weak and the strong are always the essence of the world. You said that we used despicable means to capture the world, so what do you do today? So, don't talk to me about these weak people's debates. Power is the truth. At this point, you should understand better than anyone else. Yes, what you said is right, but you have a lot of help, and you have no way to help. Your existence is persecuting the world. I can't guarantee what will happen in the future, but it will definitely be much better than the world ruled by your celestial dragons. Long is very confident. It's all said, only the weak will talk such nonsense, huh? Suddenly, Yim let out a cold snort, but to everyone present, it sounded like thunder. Many people with poor strength fell through the blood of 7 holes. Even the strong, many people were bored, snorted. What a powerful hockey, he really deserves to be a monster that has ruled the world for hundreds of years. Shanks looked at Yim in amazement. He is called the most hockey man on the sea, which is enough to prove the strength of his hockey, but now seeing hockey exuding from Yim, he feels very shocked. The other hockey is definitely in him. Above. Everyone, be careful, this guy is an old monster who has lived for hundreds of years. Let's go together and don't mess around. The emergence of Yim is both a disaster and a dawn for the coalition forces. As long as Yim is defeated, they will be victorious in this battle, but the premise of all this is that Yim can be defeated. But for the coalition forces, they still have confidence, because they are large in number. In their eyes, no matter how powerful Yim is, he is still one person. If they go together, they can completely crush Yim and win by quantity. However, Yim quickly told them that sometimes, no matter how much it is useless. Ah! The screams of screams kept echoing above Marie Joy's. I saw dozens of strong men rushed out of the coalition forces and attacked Yim at the same time, but Yim suddenly stepped on the ground, and then an invisible wave formed, and the dozens of people who rushed out screamed at the same time. Fly back. Hockey is attacking. How can there be such a strong hockey? The most shocking is Shanks. He believes that the use of hockey has reached its peak. He can rely on hockey to hurt people, but even so, it is impossible to fly dozens of people in the air like Yim. It is really terrifying. Ends. Roar. Although this scene was shocking, another group of people rushed out soon. These people were more ferocious than those before, and when they rushed to Im, they all roared and turned into huge beast monsters. This group of people who have turned into monsters is the strongest legion under Kaido, the pirate emperor Baiju Kaido. The capable legion formed by demon fruit power has reached hundreds, which is terrifying. However, Yim showed disdain when facing this group of capable people. Suddenly, countless branches appeared on his body, and these branches quickly shot at those capable people who rushed towards him. The speed of these branches was so fast that those capable people couldn't dodge them at all. When the branches stabbed them, a frightening scene happened. I saw those zone-capable people, wailing one after another, as if some power was flowing from their bodies, and then they couldn't maintain their transformed form. Each of them recovered their human form, and quickly fell to the ground. What happened? This scene made everyone present in shock. Hundreds of capable people were instantly destroyed. What kind of ability is this Yim? Is this too terrifying? Disperse to lousy. With an angry roar, Kaido suddenly rushed out, and his huge fist smashed towards Im. As the world's strongest defensive and singles strongest Kaido, his combat effectiveness is unquestionable. Although he has gone through a series of battles before, it was just a warm-up for him. Yim killed him in seconds. The proud army of capable people, he was extremely upset and shot himself. Boom. Facing Kaido, Yim didn't have any fear, and hit Kaido's fist without taking a step back. A shocking scene happened. Two men who were not on the same level at all, Kaido, the beast known as the immortal body, were beaten back by Yim's punches, but Yim didn't even step back. How can it be? Many people in the room have played against Kaido. Even if they haven't played against Kaido before, when Kaido showed off Kamui, they all saw it with their own eyes. They were completely monsters. But now, the monster among the monsters actually lost to Yim in a head-on confrontation, which is really incredible. The only person, Kaido, looked at Yim in surprise and shouted, "You can actually restrain my ability?" When he first came into contact with Im, the power of devil fruit in his body was not even effective, so he was easily repelled by Im's punch. Could it be dark fruit's ability? Because Blackbeard showed the dark fruit's ability at the beginning, he thought of the devil fruit for the first time. Only it can restrain the demon fruit power. Im coldly snorts disdainfully. The frog at the bottom of the well also wants to speculate on my ability? Since you are here, don't even think about leaving safely. With a wave of his hand, countless branches emerged from his body, and swiftly shot towards the coalition army like a laser. Everyone, be careful, there is a problem with these branches. The leaders of all parties shouted, and then they all used their own abilities to avoid these branches. They had seen clearly before that hundreds of zone abilities were defeated without any resistance, although they didn't know what is the principle, but they dare not touch these branches easily. Some people can rely on their agile speed to avoid the branches, but some people don't have this speed. Anyone hit by the branches will have no good end, and many people even died on the spot. It's just that in a short period of time, a large number of coalition masters were killed. Yim looked like a tree demon, using these branches to kill people continuously. Seeing more and more people die at the hands of Im, the leaders of the various coalition forces couldn't help it. Headed by dragons, they all used their own power and began to destroy these branches, and many others were killed. These branches are indeed powerful, but the dragons and others are also superpowers standing on the top of the sea. After these people took action, the branches were quickly cleaned up. Boom. With a shot, Beckman stared at Yim closely. It was he who fired this shot. He was very confident in his marksmanship and believed that Yim was absolutely impossible to avoid his own shot. It is true that Yim did not escape, but before his bullet got close to Yim, he was pinched with 2 fingers. Huh. The huge and incomparable blade light fell out of thin air. Shanks slashed with all his strength, facing the hundreds of meters of blade light. Yim smiled indifferently, holding the sword with his hand, and slashing towards the void. A huge sword beam of hundreds of meters was split apart by Yim's palm. Is it Shanks? You really disappointed me. Im looked at Shanks, shook his head slightly and sighed. No one knew what he sighed. Maybe only Shanks, the person involved, knew. Sure enough, no matter what he is, he has reached the peak, and his lifespan of hundreds of years has allowed him to exercise to the ultimate in all aspects. He is no longer a normal person. Shanks' face fell gloomy. He had exhausted his strength with the cut just now, but he was still easily blocked. He knew more about Yim than others, so he didn't get too flustered, just thinking what to do next. After Shanks, many powerful abilities like dragons also used abilities to attack Im. Many powerful men shot together, and the momentum was as horrible as destroying the sky and the earth. At the center of the storm, Yimu still had a calm complexion, without even the slightest movement, allowing these attacks to attack him. Boom. A huge roar sounded, so many powerful attacks all at once. In their opinion, no matter how weird Yim is, it is impossible to follow unscathed, so all of them are looking forward to Yim's defeat and death. That moment. But after the smoke cleared, an unbelievable scene happened. I saw that Yim, who was in the center of the storm, stood there unscathed. There was not even a trace on his body, as if all the attacks just now hadn't been hit. Like him. How so? Seeing this scene, everyone showed incredible expressions. They are really unbelievable. With so many people gathering a full blow, even the Pirate 4 Emperor's level powerhouse is very likely to be bombarded. It became scum, but Yim went unscathed, which was too unacceptable. Long was also shocked. He thought that Yim might be very strong, but never thought that Yim was so strong. The key is that he didn't know what the opponent's strength was. Kill him. We will win. Don't worry about casualties. Kill him. By now, there is no other choice. The dragon roars wildly. Although many others have ulterior motives, at this moment, especially seeing Im so powerful, there is no time to think about other things. According to what Long said, he was desperate to release all his strength. Everyone realizes that this will be the last battle, so there is no need to hide. The whole Marie Joyce was in madness. This most peak battle finally started. Whoever wins or loses depends on this battle. When the heat on Marie Joyce was in full swing, Akainu also took a large number of Marines to Marie Joyce. Because they were not very far away from Marie Joyce, after they were dispatched, they got under the red line at a very fast speed and moved quickly towards Marie Joyce. Marshal Sakazuki, it seems that this war is now coming to an end. I didn't expect the coalition to fight Marie Joyce so quickly. Can they win? When they passed the battlefield, they saw the tragic appearance on the battlefield. They were surprised by the death in the war. They all had scalp numbness, because too many people died. There were corpses everywhere around Marie Joyce. There were many soldiers who were seriously injured. No one was in charge of them, and they could only wait for their deaths. Akainu sighed, and then told Lucas. You order a team to clear the battlefield and rescue the seriously injured soldiers. Remember, both the coalition and the world government will arrange for rescue. Although he is not a bodhisattva, he still feels cruel after seeing so many people struggling. These soldiers are innocent, and they should not be allowed to bear this sin. Lucas immediately arranged for people from the medical unit to rescue, and then Akainu led them to Marie Joy's. When Akainu and the others quickly boarded Marie Joy's, the final battle between the coalition forces and the world government had come to an end. Everyone on the coalition side did not expect that they had already marked Marie Joy's, and the destruction of the world government was imminent. In the end, they would fail because of the appearance of a single person. That's right, even if there are more people in the coalition, no matter how strong there are, including the revolutionary dragon, the pirate emperor red-haired Shanks, the beast Kaido, the hero, Garp, as well as several leaders of the revolutionary army, and the major leaders of the coalition. On the side of the world government, Yim is the only one, but even so, Yim still wins in the end. 80% of the peak powers in the world have gathered, and they have never beaten Yim alone. If it hadn't happened in front of them, I'm afraid no one would dare to believe this is the truth. What the hell is going on? Why can't all the attacks of those with abilities cause him harm? At the end of the fight, the coalition finally understood one thing. Demon fruit power could not hurt EIM at all. On the contrary, Garp and Shanks who didn't eat devil fruit gave EIM the biggest threat. He was injured several times. By this time, the number of people in the coalition who could still stand up was no more than 2 hands, and they were all powerhouses standing on the top of the world. The leader of the revolutionary army, Long, Garp, Shanks, Kaido, Katakuri, and 3 other strong men from the coalition. There are a total of 8 people. Even the Straw Hat Kid who is known as the new pirate emperor has been beaten so he can't stand up. Even this Xiaoqiang level figure has been beaten like this. It is conceivable that the fierceness of the battle has reached. To what extent? After the demise of the Big Mom pirates, Katakuri led the remnants into the Beast's pirates. This battle he can continue to the present is enough to show his strength. His observation haki is really terrifying. In an absolutely calm situation, even Yim did not hit him. He was also the only one among the last 8 people who was not injured, which was enough to prove his extraordinary. Although Yim defeated everyone, he was not unharmed, but the injuries he suffered did not reach his limit. He still stood there, looking indifferently at the few people still standing in the coalition. I really thought that after eating a few devil fruits, I would be truly invincible. No amount of demon fruit power would pose any threat to me. The power you are proud of is worthless in front of me. Although this battle also made him feel a lot of pressure, even more tragic than the huge battle more than 800 years ago, but now he is not comparable to hundreds of years ago, now he is the real one. The pinnacle that no one can surpass. Hundreds of years ago, he relied more on the strength of his subordinates, but this time, his confidence came from his own strength. With his current strength, he believed that no one could stand in front of him till the end. Why? Are you also a special demon fruit power? That's why you ignore the attack of fruit power. Although knowing that Yim might not answer himself, one of the coalition forces was really unwilling and couldn't help but ask. Perhaps it was because these people in front of him were no longer a threat to him, or for other reasons, Yim actually answered. Hundreds of years have passed, and history has become dust. How do you think devil fruit appeared? Why have a large number of demon fruit power appeared only in the last few decades, and not before? Seeing Yimu actually ask this question, all of them were very confused, but the dragon's expression was a little strange. According to legend, devil fruit was originally the fruit of a sacred tree, and this tree used to be a sacred tree belonging to the D family. It is because of this moment the sacred tree can this kingdom be able to rule the sea for countless years. But just over 800 years ago, a group of careerists secretly joined forces to overthrow this kingdom. They are the so-called 20 kings, and you are one of them, right? Facing Dragon's questioning, Yim smiled slightly. It seems that you have really investigated a lot. What you said is right, and what else? What else do you know? Say it together. Maybe I will be there for you. Before I die, I will answer this doubt for you. Why is the attack of the capable person ineffective against you? This is the question that Long wants to ask the most so far, because only after knowing the reason can he prescribe the right medicine. Yim smiled disdainfully. Anyway, you can't survive today, so it doesn't matter to tell you. Do you think devil fruit really appeared out of thin air? Wrong. All devil fruit comes from a giant tree. The tree of devil fruit. Long and the others all showed a surprised look. Obviously they were very surprised at this result. Although they had all guessed that devil fruit might come from the same place, they had guessed that it was from the same place, but they didn't expect it to be grown on a tree. If it is a devil fruit that grows from a tree, how could it be scattered all over the world? and can it be reborn? Yim became even more disdainful. So, with the eyes of your group of ants, how can you understand the magic of this world, the tree of devil fruit? I prefer to call it the world tree. The kingdom of D is because of it in existence, and now, its owner is me, and I am the only god in this world. All you have eaten are just a devil fruit, but what I have is the entire world tree. Your power comes from me, how could it hurt me? If Akainu is here at this time, I can't help but say damn. Isn't this the story of Hokage Ninja? It's just that the chakra sacred tree has been replaced by the devil fruit tree. Is that the tree in the legend? Long and several of them have learned about the history of 800 years ago. They have seen the murals in the past and learned some content. They know that the kingdom of D once possessed terrible power, and the tree of devil fruit is one of them. It seems that you are not all ignorant pariahs, and you still have some knowledge. I'm brushed the dust off his body. Your strength is not on the same level as me, so you all have to die today. After speaking, his pupils stared, and he rushed to all the coalition forces in an instant. This was the first time he had left the place since he appeared. There was an astonishing roar over Marie Joyce, and Akainu and others who were coming quickly couldn't help but look up. What's going on? How can there be such a big movement? No matter how fierce the war is, it won't be such a sensation, right? They all felt the earth trembling under their feet, which was not a movement caused by war. This is caused by man. It seems that the above battle has reached the final juncture. The decisive battle has already begun, and may even be over. It should be the Lord Yim who has appeared, and both sides may have to show the final hole cards. Akainu thought for a moment, and then told the people around him, you can no longer intervene in the above war. You stay and clean the battlefield, control everything around you, and I will go up alone. How can this work, Marshal Sakazuki? How can I let you go up alone? It's too dangerous. When I heard that Akainu wanted to go up alone, everyone was shocked and all expressed disagreement. But Akainu waved his hand. Don't say more, listen to me. This is an order, and you will only die if you go up. I want you to keep all your lives and serve me in the future. Do you understand? But you alone are too dangerous. As the number one little brother, Ghost Spider is full of eagerness. People like them are all counting on Akainu to live their lives. If something happens to Akainu, all of them will be ruined. Akainu said solemnly, with my strength, no one can kill me yet. You can rest assured. After speaking, he gave the order again. Although Ghost Spider and others were not reconciled, they could only agree to his decision. After he was left alone, he immediately rushed to Marie Joy's as fast as he could. When he reached the inner city of Marie Joy's, he was shocked by what he saw. When I came to Marie Joy's last time, the flourishing prosperity had disappeared, and what was left was the ruined walls all over the floor, a piece of abandoned, and there were corpses and waste everywhere, as if it had been destroyed by the end of the world. This place is ruined. After this battle, Marie Joy's may be completely destroyed. To restore the former appearance, it will require extremely astonishing wealth. Boom. With an astonishing loud noise, Akainu looked up, and then swiftly moved towards there. Old man. I'm blasted the dragon with one blow, but at this moment, Garp suddenly rushed over and blocked the blow for him. He was blasted tens of meters away and hit a large building. By this time, most of the people who were still standing before were already unable to stand up. Even if they could barely stand up, they were all seriously injured. Even the strong at Garp's level were seriously injured. Even Kaido, who was known to be immortal, was beaten miserably at this time. It seems that the last person who should appear has also appeared. Yimu didn't take advantage of the serious injuries of Long and the others, but instead looked over them, looked behind them, and said something that made Long and the others very puzzled. Long and other coalition leaders who had not been beheaded by Yim turned their heads and looked at them. In their eyes, they saw a scarlet figure walking towards them step by step at a slow speed. That is. At this time, those who dared to continue walking towards this place would naturally not be ordinary people. When the dragons saw the people coming, they all showed shocked expressions. Marshal Marine, Akainu. That's right, the person who walked slowly was Marshal Marine Akainu. Watching him slowly walk across the ruined ground with corpses everywhere, everyone's expressions were different. For the coalition forces, Akainu should also belong to their coalition forces, but since the attack on Marie Joy's, Marine has not appeared. Therefore, the coalition forces have forgotten the existence of Marine and Akainu and feel that they do not need to rely on Marine at all. The power of the world government can completely destroy the world government. Boom. After taking the last step, Akainu finally stopped. He did not look at the dragon and others of the coalition army. His eyes were always only Yim. I'm also stared at Akainu with a different expression. The world government was established for more than 800 years and there have been many traitors, but like Akainu, he was the only one who brought the whole Marine to rebel. So he still has some curiosity about this Akainu who dared to betray, even if he never put Akainu in his eyes. You haven't appeared until now. Could it be the idea that the fisherman will benefit from fighting snipes and clams? When EIM said this, he was not trying to provoke the relationship between Akainu and the coalition forces, but he was really curious whether Akainu made this idea. Then do you think I benefited? Even in the face of the man behind the world government, Akainu is not at all afraid. He is here to kill the world government with his own hands, so even Yim, in his eyes, is just an object to be wiped out. Hearing Akainu's answer, IM chuckled. Of course not. I thought you didn't come with them and wanted to spend some time looking for you. Now that you are here, it saves me some time. Solve you all at once. Akainu is non-committal. It seems that you, who have lived for hundreds of years, are still alone, unwilling to give up this power. What qualifications do you have to call yourself a god? IM was also not angry. Compared to their wine and rice bags, your presence makes me more uneasy. He has ruled the world for 800 years. He hasn't seen any kind of person. Even the leader of a reactionary force like the dragon, he has seen a lot, but it is the first time he has seen a person like Akainu. It's not that Akainu is the most powerful one he has ever seen, but Akainu is the deepest hidden one he has ever seen, and silently turned his biggest military force into a betrayal, and he can still defend it. This situation, he has never encountered it before. So you want to get rid of me more? Akainu asked back. IM smiled. You were right. The person I most want to get rid of today is you. Now that you are here, there is no need for me to waste time looking for you. It seems you have confidence in yourself. Akainu suddenly realized. That's right. I haven't met an opponent for hundreds of years, so my heart will naturally expand. I am very calm. If you can threaten me, I will be happier. I have reached the top, so I may be under pressure, and maybe it will make me go further. Then it seems that there is no need to say anything. Akainu stretched out his hand, and Ryujin Jaka, who had been silent for a long time, appeared in his hand. This is his strongest weapon. Today, it can finally show its true power. How did your knife come from? Compared with Akainu, after seeing Ryujin Jaka, Yim became more interested. He has lived for so many years and has seen countless powerful weapons. Even the so-called supreme sharp knife, he doesn't pay much attention to it. But this Ryujin Jaka of Akainu, he has collected information, as definitely different from ordinary weapons. Akainu looked at Ryujin Jaka, with a look of nostalgia in his eyes. It does not belong to this world, just like me. No one understood what he meant, only the loneliness in his tone. He has been in this world for decades. If it weren't for having a system and power that didn't belong to this world, he would have almost forgotten his own origin. After all, this world is not his root. Everything in Vientiane is ashes, Ryujin Jaka. The blade changed immediately. After Shikai, Akainu did not stop, but continued with Bankai. It has been a long time since the battle on the top, and he has collected countless fear points. Ryujin Jaka has also reached the level of Bankai, and he himself has reached the top. This is why he dares to come alone, even if Yim is strong. No matter how strong he is, no matter how many cards he has, he is fearless. Good knife. Feeling that Ryujin Jaka exudes horrible waves, Yim's eyes become brighter. I'm going to kill you, I'm studying this knife. You don't have that chance, it will personally send you on the road. Then see if you have that capability. For so many years in the world of I am invincible, although he would not be irritated by others, Akainu's words still made him very upset. With a low shout, the branches of the coalition forces that were defeated before reappeared again. Thousands of branches swept away at Akainu, which was several times more fierce than before. Old Black Mountain Demon. Akainu was a little surprised when he saw the moves used by EIM. Isn't this similar to the Tree Demon? Suddenly swiped it down, without seeing any fluctuations, and suddenly saw endless lava appearing in front of the blade pointed at. The branches that all the coalition forces had been unable to use before were all burned to death by lava, and the terrifying branches were burned to death in an instant, with nothing left. How can it be? Yimu, who was still so arrogant a moment ago, showed horrified eyes at this moment. How is it possible? How can your ability cause damage to me? Why is it so? Your fruit ability is also derived from the world tree. Why can it hurt the mother? When Akainu heard what he said, he was taken aback for a moment, and then he was surprised. That's it, I didn't expect it to be like this. You should have swallowed the devil fruit tree. That's why you have this ability. You can restrain all the abilities in the world. No wonder they have so many people who can't help you. It turns out that you restrained them. He was surprised just now. Yim's power is so strong. To be able to defeat a group of masters headed by dragons so quickly, you must know that even if he can only do it unless he is doing his best, but it is so strange that Yim defeated them in such a short time. It turned out that it was not that Yim's strength was beyond imagination, but that he possessed special abilities. It's kind of interesting, the sacred tree of the Hokage world? This strange phenomenon reminded him of another comic he had read in the past, but it was somewhat similar. Yim's face suddenly changed. He didn't expect that Akainu just took a look and guessed his abilities. He was indeed integrated with the huge towering tree, so he could not grow old and die, and possess incomparable possession. The power of celestial dragons, but this is considered top secret in the history of celestial dragons, and no one knows. But it is a pity that my strength does not come from your sacred tree. He has indeed taken lava fruit, but the ability of lava fruit is his own ability. Ryujin Jaka is the ability he obtained from the system, not the evolution of his own ability, so people with other abilities cannot hurt Yim. But Ryujin Jaka's magma can be injured, even if those branches are tough, they won't have any effect in front of Ryujin Jaka. I do not believe. I'm as obviously not a believer in evil, and once again used his abilities. Branches appear larger and thicker than before, and branches continue to emerge around them, saying they are branches, but in fact they are bigger than a 100-year-old tree. The surrounding area of several kilometers is covered, forming an amazing forest. Akainu shook his head disdainfully. It's useless. In an instant, the endless sky-reaching rock pillars rose up, and that amazing forest encountered endless sky-reaching rock pillars, not to mention causing damage. Even the preservation of oneself could not be done. Ignoring the forest trees made by Yim, after Akainu used the moves, the whole person turned into a shadow and killed Yim. Yim is very strong. There is no doubt about this. Not only does it integrate the devil fruit tree, but also has trained conquerors hockey to the top for hundreds of years. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is invincible in the world. If there is no Akainu, Yim will never have an opponent at this time. Perhaps in the future when Straw Hat Luffy rises, it may change the status quo, but at present, neither the dragon nor anyone else can challenge Yim's position. There is only one person, and that is Akainu. He is very strong and has a system to increase his strength. From the top of the war to the later eradication of the Big Mom pirate group, he has accumulated a lot of fear points and exchanged them. With the ability to enhance strength, his current strength is much stronger than 2 years ago. The strength of Yim lies in his ability and hockey, but Akainu has already upgraded his hockey to ultimate through the system, not inferior to Yim, and the power of his Ryujin Jaka is even more terrifying, completely ignoring Yim's abilities. The two can be said to meet each other. From the beginning of the battle, from the original position, all the way to hundreds of miles away, in the end, even the dragon and others could not see the battle between the two of them. This battle lasted more than 2 hours. Both Akainu and Yim have reached the ultimate, and they have used their strongest strength to fight to the death. Whirring. Yim looked at Akainu with complicated eyes, and saw a stab wound through his upper body on his chest. Besides, there were many wounds on his body, and even his head was full of blood. For hundreds of years, I never thought I would lose. Akainu looked at Yim lightly. Every individual will lose. Just living long enough does not mean that you are the strongest. He was also injured, and his condition was no better than Yim, but there is no doubt that he won the battle in the end, even if he hadn't killed Yim. If you think this is over, then you are very wrong. Losing to Akainu makes Yim very unhappy, but he is an old guy who has lived for hundreds of years. He has lost more than once in his life, but in the end he can rule the world for hundreds of years. This is his ability. This time he is also full of confidence in himself. After speaking, Yim suddenly turned around and stopped fighting Akainu, but rushed towards where his palace was. Seeing Yim fleeing, Akainu was not surprised. Like this old fox, he must have a lot of hole cards, and it is impossible for him to be decadent because of his defeat, so he does not have one of them, and he is chasing after him. Yim ahead, came to his palace, and saw a large group of allied troops attacking his palace, but he didn't care, but directly passed them and rushed into the palace. I have to say that Yim's speed is very fast, plus this is his territory. Even if Akainu pursued with all his strength, he did not catch up with Yim and let him rush into his own palace. Sakazuki, did you win? Taking a look at the palace of Yim, Akainu did not immediately rush in, but fell into the coalition. The attacking dragon and others, after seeing Akainu, immediately walked over and asked. Akainu glanced at the dragon. This guy wanted to collect the fruits of victory while he was fighting Yim, but he still underestimated the power of the world government. All their power was gathered here, and they attacked. For more than an hour, he hasn't even penetrated it yet. Yim should have a hole card. If I guess right, it should be the legendary ancient weapon Uranus. A trace of fear flashed in Long's eyes, and then he said, if you're worried about this, you don't have to. He does have ancient weapon Uranus, but he lacks an important part of Uranus, so even Uranus cannot play Uranus's greatest power. Akainu glanced at the dragon in surprise. He really didn't know this at all, but this did not affect his guess. The important part that the dragon said was probably the straw hat on the top of the straw hat boy. Uranus. What the hell is it? asked the question that had always been puzzled in his mind. He really didn't know what ancient weapon Uranus was, but it must be the most powerful among the 3 ancient weapons. It must be very amazing. A weapon. Long's answer was brief and concise. Akainu glanced at him uncomfortably. What's special? He certainly knows that Uranus is a weapon, but what kind of weapon is the key? The dragon said with a heavy face. Since Yim has already lost to you, he must start the final hole card. You will soon be able to see the power of Uranus. This is. Suddenly, all those who were fighting stopped, because Marie Joyce was violently shaken, and a powerful energy burst out from Im's palace, as if some wild beast was about to get out of it. Long and the others made a decisive decision: retreat, let everyone retreat as far as possible. Although other people didn't know why the dragon was so nervous, looking at the dragon's terrifying expression, they also knew that unimaginable things would happen next, so they all let the people flee. Under everyone's horrified eyes, I saw that the palace suddenly burst out with amazing energy, flying the top of the entire palace, and then a huge yellow object rushed out and flew into the air. Damn it. When Akainu saw the object in the sky, the whole person was stupid. This is ancient weapon Uranus. I saw a huge yellow straw hat floating in the sky. Upon closer inspection, it was a replica of Luffy's straw hat. But Akainu is really hard to imagine. Is this really Uranus? There is really such a big gap between the little devil's thoughts and his. If you say that ancient weapon Uranus is good, how can it be a huge straw hat? Rao is a serious person like Akainu, and he is not lighted by thunder. It is because he can't bear it. Since he decided to confront the world government, he has been afraid of Yim and the legendary ancient weapon Uranus for many years. But the reality really slapped him. It was too pitted. Uranus was actually a straw hat. No, it was a straw hat-like weapon. Who made this? And the imagination is so rich. 3rd generation ancient weapon. Pluton is a little more reliable. It looks normal. Poseidon is not normal. It is a murloc. This Uranus is even more abnormal. It is actually a straw hat. Is it Uranus if it is put on the head? This is Uranus? Akainu asked the dragon beside him hard. Long Hehe smiled. Is it unbelievable? But this is indeed Uranus, the most powerful weapon in the world. Roger's straw hat was captured from Uranus and it was part of Uranus. Akainu is really speechless, and he really missed his expectations. It really is anime, and his imagination is indeed rich. What are its capabilities? Do not know. Long shook his head. Although he knew Uranus, he didn't know exactly what Uranus was. Suddenly, the straw hat despised by Akainu exudes an astonishing light, as if to cover the entire Marie Joyce. With Akainu's ability, he clearly felt the tremendous power of this energy. This energy. Akainu had been staring at him, but even so, he did not understand how this energy burst out. Boom. Without any signs, suddenly there was a huge roar from the sky and the earth, an astonishing explosion of energy, except for the sky full of light. Everything else could not be seen clearly. How can it be? Looking at Ryujin Jaka through his chest, Yim is really unbelievable. He has sacrificed Uranus and is ready to completely wipe out everyone, but he never expected that he would activate Uranus to launch an attack. End. Akainu said faintly. You forgot? I'm a Logia-capable person. Uranus's power is indeed terrifying. I killed most of Marie Joyce in one blow, but I was not among them. Control everything. Only your own strength is the greatest guarantee. It's really unacceptable that I should lose to someone like you. As the king of the world, he is proud and doesn't put anyone in his eyes. Even the pirate king Roger, who set off a bloody storm 20 years ago, he didn't care. Even the Revolutionary Army dragon, he just let it go. Because he is confident that these people will not pose a threat to him at all. If they pose a threat, they will be cleaned up. But they didn't expect that they would be defeated by Akainu, who was born in Marine. However, I am a god. No one can kill me. No one can kill me. Only myself can kill me. There was madness in Yim's eyes, and he saw that he was recklessly gathering his last strength. Boom. Which was fused with the devil fruit tree, blew himself up, and the movement caused was no less powerful than Uranus's eruption. It has been a month since the decisive battle of Marie Joyce. No one thought that the person who had the last laugh in this world-class final battle was neither the world government nor the coalition, but Akainu from naval headquarters. After Yim blew himself up, Marie Joyce was completely destroyed, which meant that the world government no longer existed. And because of Im's self-destruction, the coalition forces that rushed to Marie Joyce did not exist. On the contrary, the Marine army that did not board Marie Joyce finally ruled Maria Joyce's red line and became the final victor. The world government collapsed. Although the coalition forces still had remnants, they were all controlled by Marine. However, Akainu did not proceed with the next step. Instead, he gathered the territory of the previous world government and strengthened Marine's forces. He sent invitation letters to all countries of the world, preparing to discuss major issues in 3 months. In addition, a frightening thing happened in the world, that is, all the abilities of demon fruit power disappeared after the Marie Joy's war. Within a day, there was no ability in the world. For this reason, there is another bloody storm on the sea. The big men who used to rely on ability to dominate will naturally have unimaginable consequences after they lose the ability. But all this has no effect at all for Akainu. He is still the strongest person in the world. Sure enough, it can be reborn. On the Red Line, Marine re-established a new naval headquarters base. Now Marine is arguably the most powerful force in the world. Naturally, it is impossible to build the headquarters base in New World, so Akainu decided to build a new base on the Red Line. Headquarters. In front of Akainu, a small tree a few meters high was slowly growing. This tree was after Akainu blew himself up in Yim and saw a seed. He sensed the power of devil fruit from it, so he planted it. I am afraid that in a few hundred years, this will be a new devil fruit tree, but I don't know when it will bear fruit. The loss of lava fruit's ability does not affect Akainu's strength, because he still has a stronger Ryujin Jaka, but he uses magma ability at will. After staring at the small tree for a while, Akainu asked Lucas next to him, "How are those people persuading you to surrender?" After the Battle of Marie Joy's, the strong men who were still alive in the coalition were all captured by him. For these people with ulterior motives, he did not have the slightest affection. Lucas said, "Except for a few people, the rest are unwilling to surrender." Akainu thought for a while, and said, "Let the Shanks go alone without ambitions, and detain the rest. If they don't want to surrender, let them live in darkness forever." The world has finally settled down. How could he let these people out and do things wrong again? 3 months later, a huge conference that brought together more than 90% of the countries in the world started. This conference lasted for a full month before finally negotiating a final result. Akainu did not form a behemoth that wanted to rule the world like the world government, but still ruled Marine, but the meaning of Marine has changed. In every country, a Marine branch must be established. Marine will not directly participate in the management of the world's political power. However, if any country is in turmoil and becomes irretrievable, Marine has the power to send troops to pacify it. In addition, there are a lot of regulations that will be agreed in this month. Akainu did not become the king of the world on the surface, but became the king in the dark. These ideas of him were based on the cultivation novels he had read in the past. His goal is to build Marine into a huge form of sect, ruling the world with a supreme status, but not participating in the political power of countries around the world, giving them enough autonomy. As for the branches established by various countries, they are naturally his eyes. They are independent of the power of various countries in the world, and he has a system. As long as the fear value is constant, he can have unlimited life. With him, the world is under control, because he not only has the strongest strength, but also possesses the 3 ancient weapons at the same time. No one can pose a threat to him, no one can. From that day on, the time of the world has changed. The first year of Sakazuki.